Welcome to another special rock and roll edition. In the sun we go marching on this hot day, above average hot day, because it's still not summer. But gonna begin with gratitude. I'm gonna dedicate it to Western Canadian firefighters. Go Western Canadian firefighters in Saskatchewan, Manitoba. My heart is with you and thinking about you, and also for hamlets across the collective North American civilization, the hamlets. I was just drinking some water because we're waiting for those filters. So I had during COVID purchased one of those big gallon water, they're not really bins, they're barrels of water. And so I checked, and it comes from Anatelson, a city. It's like a hamlet in Quebec, near the border. So I was checking it out and I was meditating upon it. So I said, how many hamlets are across Canada? How many hamlets are across the collective North American civilization? How many hamlets are across North America, Canada, United States joint? I was thinking about that and doing a meditation. And this one's for those firefighters in Western Canada, for my anonymous friend, of course, always, for my allies in armies, always, marching, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors also included, but also for hamlets. So it's called Anatelson. For Anatelson, I'm going to write it, spell it properly, because I might not pronounce it that properly as I go right now, but whatever the pronunciation might be correctly, it's Anatelstene, Athelstene, something like that, Athelnste. So that was the provenance of the water that I drank, comes from there, because we have a lot of water source, and that natural spring water that I drank earlier and during the past 5 days, since of course we ran out of the filters, and we just got them yesterday, my anonymous friend. And thank you to those who gave me an opportunity to do some work. I was able to contribute, first time in a long time, for the filters, because my anonymous friend was contributing a lot during the past 5 years, and I was able to put in $40 too for them this time, because it's barely cost like something like that. So I covered a little bit of the cost, but not all the cost. My anonymous friend put a little bit, but if I make $1 million, I'm gonna give $1 trillion, $1 billion, half of every billion, every trillion that I make. And that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the rock and roll though. So that's how we gotta get doing on the go, So we gotta get it on the love side of things, and we gotta always get it for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, firefighters. Thinking about the plumbers across the collective North American civilizational complexes. I got those red gloves in the backpack, so it's still a Dragon versus Trump since 2018. I've been Eminem challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border. Those tariffs might be announced today, might be coming tomorrow on the steel. I'm referring to the new steel, aluminum, steel tariffs, and 25%. We export 85% of our goods to my brothers and sisters in the United States. Whence yours truly was also born in the USA 3 times, right? Post 76. Once as a woman, twice as a man. You get that 50-50 now. Grateful for this new water fountain here. Gonna get a little bit of that hydration before we rock and roll. Always good to hydrate. And we're not gonna march to the mountain today. I think we're gonna go to the river, although might change the last minute. Go a little bit of clock rotation. Let's go a little bit for the pipes to clear, and let's go HYDRATE. Gotta let some time for the pipes to clear. A few seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hydrate HYDRATE. Got some hydration there, always good. And this is a new fountain and new benches here in the park, and always gotta appreciate new park benches. It's always something which I gotta salute the public workers. They do that work, and they put that new Dare fountain, which was not available before, prior last year. It came into effect during COVID, so that was a little bit of good dealing with that. And that is something which we got, so here we are, grateful, thankful, financially stressed still, but paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid in full, paid my electricity bill, and of course paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, got a little bit of coffee leftovers. Although financially stressed, I got some things to be grateful because, you know, I survived COVID and live with my scars, my trauma or retrograde amnesia, and not recent memory loss, but can have problems accessing memory when I go back. When I go back 7, 8, 9 years, I'm good, and I go to 10, and then I go to 11, and I get a little bit of that good stuff, and that's when I get a little bit of that blackout, you know, that rah, and I feel good today. It's 26 when I left, so that's quite considerable, 26 degrees, you know. If you think about it, it's supposed to be like that during summer, so it's still June the 3rd today. But supposedly tomorrow is going to be that heat wave. I think the heat wave started today, so maybe today, tomorrow, the other day. That is, today is Tuesday, so if it's Wednesday, gotta turn your heads left or right before you cross the street, you know. Because you never know. Let's see if there's any surprises here in the fridge. And I always like, yeah, somebody gonna put some good fridges in. Let's see what it is. And I'm gonna leave for somebody else. And this, I never had this before. Made in Canada. Wow, made in Canada, that's good. Gonna take some, leave some for others. And these cans I have, corn style cream. You can have corn style cream if you want. So grateful, thankful for these cans. You know, that is somebody's gonna enjoy that. I'm gonna take the bear pants, and I'm gonna take these little crackers. Oh, I'm gonna leave some crackers for somebody else. We're gonna leave some crackers, and I'm gonna take some crackers with it, and that's what it is. And this is where we go. I'm gonna just take a little bit of bag and leave something for somebody else. I wish I could fill the fridge up, you know, sometimes. And these are actually from Canada. Look at that. Made in Canada, bonbons with roasted chicken and rosemary. Or they're treats for dogs. So I'm not gonna touch them because I don't have a dogs. Oh my goodness, this is in the fridge. Gotta be careful. I really thought they were, because they're individually wrapped, but they're actually treats for dogs. Made in Canada. I was actually gonna eat them myself, try one myself, but they're for dogs. Doggy food in there. That's for humans, imagine. Doggy food, man. I guess it can stay with the human food in the fridge, but I almost got a bit of you know, a bit of a surprise. You know, that it was doggy food, but I'm gonna say the truth. One time I took 3 bites out of a big doggy stick. I didn't know it was for the dogs, but poodles I can pet, but the other dogs I get allergies depending on the length of the fur. But yeah, so you want to know one of my secrets, because you already know so many of them. But a few years back, maybe 3.5 years ago, I took a bite out of the doggy stick. So here we go. Thank you. I left a lot of the food there. I took some crackers for a soup for my anonymous friend, and some crackers for me. So that's it with that, and I'm gonna put it in the backpack. We're gonna march in the sun. We're gonna march in the sun. We're gonna march in the sun. For the sunset, you know. There's always a sunrise and a sunset. That has to be something which we gotta understand, right? Because there's always a sunset and always a sunset and always a sunrise in any given second. So as we're gonna split it up and change a little bit of that camera focus with that, we're gonna get on that camera focus on the go, and that's what they're gonna get doing with that, and they're gonna get it on the go for that, and they're gonna get that big, you know, XYZ on the love, and that's what we're gonna get towards the sun, you know, on the doers and the butchers and the bakers and the doctors, firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, the nurses, the doctors, and you're welcome. Gonna get it on the love, and my auntie there, you know, little pass first. Wearing a mask sometimes, you know, we don't know what we got, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and it's something which we gotta be doing, man, you know, always grateful, thankful, and gonna changing up in the sun, go in the sun a little bit, but actually we're in the sun if we stay here, so, you know, gotta salute the youth graduation, who's graduating that high school, and who's passing a little bit of that math. I'm good at percentages and good at fraction percentages and multiplication, additions and divisions, but the other day I was kind of perplexed. It was an 8th grade math question. I was kind of stuck. I solved half of it, but then I wasn't able, maybe because I was just finished working out. No excuses, I guess, but I guess it was, I don't know, I just kind of blocked on it, you know. I spent too much time, and maybe my friend, anonymous friend, solved it, and of course maybe that was what was the deal with that. But anyways, here I am, grateful, thankful, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and we go on the march, you know. Go on the march, saluting the bus drivers. LOV to the bus drivers. I see they advertising some new movies on the go, and gotta be grateful because I got that on Netflix. I don't advertise for any specific group or interest because, of course, I am an independent artist, an athlete who's financially struggling, and especially with Asperger's. I think this is nice. If you want to paint it or do whatever, if it's good for you. I don't have really a place. My space is too small right now. I can't even have anybody over, really. But maybe one day I will have somebody who's gonna be able to get it on the do and get it on the loving, and then I'll have open doors maybe from Monday to Friday for rock and roll geopolitics, because I am an independent geopolitical theoretical honest empiricist who's dedicating this march to that specific hamlet and all hamlets and all firefighters across the western Canadian provinces. You know, Saskatchewan, Alberta, going to wildfires moving towards Alberta now, and of course the other fires which are of course in Manitoba, so with evacuations ongoing. I just meditate now with you. Solidarity, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. You know, you're my family here. Quebecer Canadians, ever since I crossed Canada, coast to coast, ocean to ocean in 2017. Beautiful flower pots there. Quite nice, eh? At least I like them, and it embellishes a little bit of the city, you know, the landscape, and I love the yellow flowers and kind of peculiar flowers like this one also. I kind of like that. They're kind of blue and white, kind of resembles the Quebec flag a little bit, but that is quite nice there. How they are, you know, a little bit on the upside, you know. They're quite cute. Cuties. Yeah, I love flowers, you know, my secrets, but yellow is my fellow flowers, and that's what it is with that, you know, and that's what, you know, specifically for the love, and my cousins, my family here, uncle on the bike, and cousins passing, and little cousins, and bigger cousins, and smaller cousins, and uncles and aunties, and I established that strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, our family, ever since I crossed Canada coast to coast. I revert a lot to that point in time in my life, because much of my life I have trouble remembering my life prior to like 2014, you know. 2014 as goes like a blackout. Maybe I moved where I live now about, I think this July is either going to be the 9th year down there or the 10th. 10 years. So if I moved in 2015, then it's just 10 years, right? So maybe that's that 10 years with that, so watch it with the bike, gotta be prudent, and always gotta be on the go for the youth, you know. The youth safety first, their joy first, their loving, you know. So yeah, because I got that retrograde amnesia, you know, memory loss, and sometimes it's caused by prolonged illness. And where I used to live, there was lots of like a prison cell, small tiny prison cell. I guess I had lived my own sentence already. I served my time, I guess, where I was living there for I don't know how long exactly, a few years probably, but it was like moldy underground basement, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. It was a moldy underground basement with that, and that's how we gotta get rock and rolling. And for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and the grocery store clerks, and all involved in the production and the distribution of food, you know, and those firefighters and those plumbers and the electricians, you know, all those firefighters, plumbers, electricians, and the bakers, the butchers, the nurses, and those doctors, you know, we gotta salute them a little bit, and that's how we gotta get drilling with them. And it's always overtime, every time with yours truly, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and gotta get it for the go, you know. So gotta be thinking about something which we gotta do, you know, so something which we gotta be doing. And just I established that strong esprit de corps, you know, my fellow Canadians, our family, when I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017. That's when, of course, I got out of being depressed, being suicidal, you know. I was depressed, I was suicidal, and before that date, and crossing Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean, made me realize I had like an awakening, you know. I said so many things to see and to do across the North American Collectif. So I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, our family, and today for that city, I hope I get to visit it one day. It's a hamlet. And for all the hamlets across Canada, United States, how many hamlets are there? Hamlets are smaller than towns and cities, you know, and villages. It's a small place, hamlets, and that one's at the ATHELSCATNE, something like that. Atalatani. Maybe I mispronounced it, but it's a small hamlet and it's where the source origin of the water came from Hottybrook, like the county of Hottybrook in southern Quebec. And I always meditate how many gallons are they putting there and what are they doing over there across all the hamlets now, and especially in the wildfires, you know, as I go on this unscripted, raw edited, I guess, unedited, raw marching and stalking. And it's something that I just opened the radio for a little bit and said, you know, there's a lot of talking, and then right for those 5 words I clicked it back, I turned it off. I said, oh, I'm gonna do a little talking while marching, because, you know, it's those construction workers building the buildings, and the farmers and the electricians on the field, and the firefighters, first responders, and our brothers and sisters in the uniform who are not perfect. They're individuals, part of our institutions, and we always can do better as individuals, part of our institutions, with whatever things we have to fix, whether racism, social gender inequalities and dynamics, whatever the case may be. And that's how we have to be doing, an awareness of that, you know. And myself as a democratic Republican, as a pro-liberal love universal revolutionary centrism, that's it, what it is, and that's what they can do, and that's what they can get it, and that's what they can stick, and that's what they can do, and that's what they can roll a little bit of that dough, and a little bit of that dough to make a little bit of that bread for the bakers, you know. Gotta salute bakers, plumbers, teachers, daycare workers, gotta salute. And that hamlet, Athelsani, and Athelsantae, a long name starting with an A. My name Adrian, but gonna have to check what's going on there. And you know, it's the source of that water which I drank today and made my coffee today with, so I gotta send some loving. It was bottled up, so all the civilizational privileges which we have, gotta salute Hydro-Quebec workers, you know, those who pick up the garbage yesterday and the recycling, you know. And Thursday is gonna be compost, so you got services, you know, that compost, the recycling. And I worked in the compost, you know. I worked in the compost bin, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know, having worked in the compost bins and having done some education, as I'm calling for the DGA, you know, and the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, that is something which, of course, I had to be doing with that, and that is something which I had to be rock and rolling, and something which I had to be explicit about. And of course, the meditative states which we enter sometimes is our interactions with the individual sovereigns, a part of a collective. I don't want to get overly complex, because I can't be, as a philosopher, overly intellectual or academic in much of my discourses. At least I try to minimize, especially when I discuss the privilege of civilization, when is, of course, my thesis presented to the world back in 2023 in February in an oral manner, presented online. And you know, the privilege of civilization is kind of one of my theses among many, because I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. And of course I have Asperger's, so being that I have Asperger's, it's my special interest. We Aspies, we have what are terms and known as special interest, also known as obsessive interest. And of course I'm going to just make a brief resume of what Asperger's is. I'm part of this tiny small fraction of the population of a community who are neurodivergent, and it's not a mental illness. There's a lot of miseducation about what it is, and they think that it is a mental illness. It's not. It's really a neurodivergence. It makes me, of course, predisposed to special interests, and those special interests, like geopolitics for me, it could be somebody else for somebody else, but it could be somebody, it can have, you know, cars. For some Aspies, it could be cars. You could just look at a car and know so much information and in-depth information about the cars, and that's all they gotta get doing with that. That's how we gotta get doing with that, you know. So it's something which we got. That's what it is. XYZ, XYZ. So, that's it, man. That's about it. That's how we gotta go. And that's how I gotta be meditating, you know, like these workers here, and that's what it is, and that's how we gotta go with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get it on the love side of things, you know. for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and the doctors, and the firefighters, and all those involved in the distribution and production of food. And that's how we rock and roll. We're roaming on the go, and we're gonna pass it on, and we're gonna pass it on the go. We're gonna pass it on the love side of things, and we gotta get it for the doers and the butchers and the bakers and the nurses and the plumbers and the electricians and all the workers here of the collective. You know, I wonder what are they doing here with the plateauing on the go. Gotta give a little bit of XYZ to the public workers, and that's why to go get it with that and go get it on the go, you know. And we gotta get it on the go for the XYZ and get it for the public workers to get it on the left side of things. And we got some metal, some steel, some XYZ, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, you know. Here we got metal, we got steel, we got construction workers, we got butchers, we got bakers, we got the public workers, you know. So I wish I would have been on the field with that, and wish I would have been on the field with Go, and that's how we gotta get drilling, man. For the youth as well, you know. Gotta send some of that love into the youth, and oh my goodness, this garbage needs to be picked. And got the public sanitation workers, you know. It's the public sanitation workers, and we got those beautiful orange flowers there. What a flaming orange, look at those. Poppies, eh? They're so beautiful. It's kind of super cool there in the corner. Just a little piece of jewel, a little piece of heaven there for tons of flowers, you know. That's why I gotta go with that, and that's why I gotta get drilling. And you know, I'm happy to see the youth happy and smiling and joyous. And we need to get the North American rehabilitation of the go, and rehabilitation of the public construction workers and the public workers for the go with that. And that's how we gotta get drilling with that, and we gotta get drilling on the love side of things, and that is something which we just gotta do, you know. So we gotta switch, and we gotta be, and we gotta let, and we gotta love, and we gotta do rock and roll. So again, Asperger's, as I salute these public workers on the go, and I'm gonna give it on the salutations. And Asperger's again is just this neurodivergence. So this neurodivergence is because our brains are of course mutated. So we have a mutation of the brain. So this brain mutation makes us that we are of course different. It's not a big mutation, but it's enough to cause these special characteristics, you know, because they're not symptoms. And yes, that screechy noise might affect me more and Aspie's more. It did. I kind of greased my little teeth and kind of clenched my little toes. I guess I don't have ear plugs, but that might affect me more than others. But not enough that I can't manage. I can manage. I just have my coping mechanisms, you know. What I do is basically I feel my toes, and I kind of squeeze my toes really good, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. So I squeeze my toes with that, and we gotta get it on the go. We gotta get it for the love, and gotta get it for the love because so gotta get doing for that, and we gotta get doing for the love side of things, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing. Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Graduating?
No.
Said hello. Said graduating. That's our youth, you know. They're happy, I'm happy, and that's what's important to be, and that's what we gotta get doing for the doers, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. It's something which we got, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. C'est que l'on coupe sur pied. Mes amis. C'est que l'on coupe sur pied. Attendez, celle-là. Bon, 7. Coupe. C'est grave. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Rock and roll, man. So Asperger's, I had some nice rock and roll songs, you know, to get it on the go. And we're gonna go towards the sun, and we're gonna click it like a U and then go down. So now we're going north, then we're gonna go that way. So we're gonna do like kind of a U type of thing, you know, because we're going to the river, you know. That's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna get doing to the river, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and gonna get it on the go, and that's how we're gonna get XYZ and the XYZ. And so Asperger's, you know, is a neurological mental divergent condition which makes us predisposed, you know, to special interests, and those special interests, you know, are part of our special characteristics, and when we're involved in them, you know, when we're involved with them, that's what it is, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing on the go, you know. So those characteristics, when they're involved, you know, is the average. I like that white one. Look at that whitey. So nice, so fluffy. So basically, these characteristics can seem like a mental illness, a disorder, but they're not really. This is a special interest, are part of these characteristics which make us, of course, that we are involved in whatever the case may be, and whatever the case may be with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and gotta get it on that rock and roll, you know. So something which we gotta be mindful of, you know, because these characteristics are pertinent, and we gotta get doing on that, and gotta get it on the rock and roll side of things, man. So me, my special interest, also known as obsessive interest, is my holy trinity. Is geopolitics, sports, fitness, geopolitics, and whatever the case may be. This is a hybrid. See, so this is a hybrid, it has both. It has both. A messy things, man. Messy drive here. Guess it's messy to drive here. Quite messy, man. Messy drive, man. Gotta get it on the go, and gotta get it on the do, and messy drive, man. That messy drive, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. Messy drives. Gotta be prudent on the roads. So Asperger's, being an N.A.C.W.P, my brain is mutated. So these mutations account for probabilities, certain things in my daily life and how I interact with the world. We see the world differently because our brain has these mutations, right? So we might be focused on certain details, certain objects, which other people might omit or not care about, or really say, what the fuck? What, WTF, WTF, WTF. Such as, for example, I give you an example. So I might look at this and see Hydro-Quebec, right? Hydro-Quebec. Go Hydro-Quebec, go LOV, thank you. That's why I got these electricity. You know, all electricity is zero pollution because it does not pollute at all. So looking at this Hydro-Quebec, I can see also that there's numbers 62, 75, and 81. Now I might wonder what are those numbers about, because it seems like they're dual numbers, right? And this number here, RT7A8E, what does that represent? And these are the numbers there. I know it's inspecté 2023 and those things, you know. So things such as that, those details. So it's, I want to know what they really mean. So always these attention to these special details sometimes which are not super important for others, but it's a characteristics of Asperger's. So it's not a mental illness, it's just that we might be concerned with details, but the normal population or the neurotypical population, because it's, for me, having Asperger's is normal how I am. It's not really something which cannot be integrated in society. We neurodivergence, and we're part of this tiny community, myself included as an N.A.C.W.P. You know, there's not a lot of N.A.C.W.Ps in the world. It's less than 1%, hey, less than half of a percent, like 0.44%. So it's just that we see the world differently, and to do these mutations, while the majority of the population is the 99.56%, and so We have the bridges to be built, you know. This is just building bridges between myself as an ASP neurodivergent with the fellow neurotypical community, which you constitute the majority. And unfortunately, we got special interests, and those special interests we can be really, really, really good at. And to the point that I have the proof for what I'm going to say is that I predicted what's happening now back in 2019. In October, November, I predicted an international conflagration. October, November, I have predicted an international conflagration. October, November 2019, I have predicted an international conflagration that is going to set and begin and commence in, like I said, about a 7 year or so term. A 7 year or so, of course, term. When I said about 7 years term, of course, I put the dictum that there was a 50-50 probability for it to be nuclear and a 2/3 probability. So nuclear was 50-50, but the biological probabilities was that it's going to be a biological weaponry attack, 2/3. So that was about 66.6%, which you convert the thirds, the fractions into percentages, which is of course feasible and doable, and of course it could be done in such a manner. So I'm just going to put some trash here as I go in the sun, and we always got to get it for the public workers, and always got to salute sanitation, you know, because it's part of our collective civilizational complex. And gotta check a little bit of those yellow flowers there, because you know I like that yellow. And let's put on the exterior, so it's kind of cool. And this is gonna take a little turn there to see if the bank is there put in order or if they took it completely off. I think so. I took so. And so we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get doing for the go, you know. So something which we gotta be doing, and we gotta be commencing, and we gotta be starting. And I think that it's out of service now. They completely took it off. Yeah, I think so. Used to be my bank here, but I think that I think it's completely out. I'm not sure, maybe. Oh yeah, they took out the whole. Oh, they even closed it now. So it used to be where I used to come to do the banking. I used to do banking there, but they took out the ATM machine. Used to be there, but see, I'm in the minus already. I know kind of my situation is precarious, but gonna wait for the fellow citizen to let me pass. And here we got a little bit of prudence, and gotta be prudent, you know. When you cross the street, it's always give and receive and give and take, you know. It's always a kind of a dance, you know, a dance between the pedestrian, the individuals, and the pedestrian. I gotta give a salutation to the grocery store clerks, you know, because they're there and doing some grocery selling, and they get a little bit of that minimum wage or plus a little bit of cents extra. And I gotta give a salutation because I got a little bit of work done. I got 5 hours, $30 an hour. I made less than 200 last month, so you don't have to declare it to the government, because you have to declare it if you make more than 200. So it's legit. I am financially stressed, struggling, you know. My only stress now is financial. Besides the financial stress, gotta hurry up. Yeah, you gotta be careful there, don't get caught, you know. I was already, but you got time enough when it rings, you got time enough to clear the area. But other than that, don't play around, you know. I already was 1/3 in, about 33% in, but you gotta respect that, because got the public gotta do it, and we gotta get it on the do it, and we gotta do it on the go, and we gotta do it on the love, and we gotta do it on the butchers and the bakers, the nurses, and the firefighters, electricians, and the plumbers. And that's how we gotta get doing with that, you know, for the love and for the train conductors. And once again, just to summarize, Asperger's. It's a neurological mental divergent condition where it's not a mental illness. It's just that we Aspies see the world differently, and we have these special interests where it's when we are involved, we can be super concentrated, super focused, super intense. So I'm super intense, I'm super focused, I'm super concentrated. So I am super intense, super concentrated, super focused. When I study, do geopolitical analysis, even today, since the morning I did like 5 hours plus, a few cups of coffee, and really with an intensity, you know, really intensely. So kind of with intense concentration, and you know, that's what we gotta get doing, and with intensity and concentration. With intensity and concentration and super focused, super intense, super concentrated. Those are kind of the words which describes kind of verbs: being focused, being intense, being super concentrated. You know, those are what we are. That's how just we deal with when we involved in those special interests. Somebody might be cars or bikes, so somebody might know everything about that car there. Just from looking at it, he might know the year, the model, an Aspie. If you're an Aspie and cars is your special interest, you might know everything since the history of the cars, the automobile in the 1890s, 1880s, the beginning of the 1850s, I guess, when automobiles began. Of course, not as we have them today, but until today. So an Aspie might know the details, how much the gas consumption is, the year of production, how much it weighs, all those technical details about the cars, functionalities and the alloys, the metals, the year of fabrication, all those things. An Aspie might know if that fellow Aspie has a special interest. Of course, geopolitics. It could be also physics. Might know everything there is about physics, or it could be history. Mine is geopolitics. My Trinity, geopolitics 24/7. I'm an independent geopolitical theorist. And of course, geopolitics, sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and rock and roll. That's how I roll. And here I gotta come to do a little bit of that bathroom, because before we go on the long march, gotta get on the bathroom. So I really gotta go. Oh, just in time. Oh, gotta see you in a bit. All right, we continue. I did wash my hands dried, and now I'm gonna open with this like that, because you never know. I don't want to get double microbes, germs, bacteria. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in, lock it in, and get it on the go and lock it, and utilize this. I already washed my hands, so yeah, that's what it is with that. And I'm gonna go get a lot of hydration over there. And here I wish, you know what I wish? I've been saying in many videos here, I wish I would paint all this. Just bring me the tools, you know, the paint brushes and the paint, and whatever tools need me, I'll do the best of my abilities. I'm not a professional painter, but I would love to volunteer, because every time I pass here, it reminds me of the dark gray years which I lived prior to me crossing Canada 2017, when that event changed my life. Before that, I was depressed and suicidal, and I would love to put some of that red, blue, white color, maybe rainbow, green, shades of green, shades of blue, shades of crimson, scarlet, red here. You know what I mean? I think it would be a good for the citizens, and it's public, and I certainly appreciate the tunnel and the freshness of it now during this kind of beginning of a 3-day heat wave, I guess, because tomorrow's supposed to be 31, if not more. That would be quite something for not even summer. That's like end of July type of August temperatures, and that's how it be with that, you know. So we're gonna get it here, a little bit of hydration. Gotta get on the go with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. For the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, the plumbers, and all the electricians now. Gotta get that HYDRAT. Let it run a bit. A few 10 seconds, you know, before you drink it. Before you drink it, you know. 10 seconds, 5 seconds, just to clear the pipes, you know. Just clear the pipes, 5 seconds. And now we can drink. Let's go. Oh yeah. Woo! That was good. Now we're gonna get it on the go, and so we're gonna go get it, man. Waits for the little flowers there, little flowerinos, and gonna go zigzag about, and that's what it is, you know. So we're gonna get crossing and gonna salute the train conductors, giving them some of that salutations, you know. Actually, I wanted to turn on the other side, but let me see. I'm just gonna go around about it and just click it south and go towards the sun, you know, because that's what basically we want to do with that, and that's how we want to get rolling with that, and they gotta get drilling with the lover, man. Imagine all the work here, which has been done, and just to have the railways. I wonder how many kilometers of railways exist, because now we united Canada and the United States and Mexico with the merger of Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Rail. In 2023 during COVID, Kansas City Rail and they merged, you know. They merged, you know, so they merged. For the first time we can go to Mexico City by train. So they merged together for the first time in history. Well, that was one of the biggest mergers in North America. I don't know if it's in the world, because I think the Trans-Siberian from Moscow to the Yekaterina Peninsula, or the Yekaterinburg, something like that, a city that's kind of crosses like 11 time zones, close to 13 time zones maybe, the train from one end of Russia till the other, because Russia is the most sparse, geographically the biggest country in the world in terms of geography, not population. Population, they have 144 million, almost 49 million, 145 million, almost 145 million, you know, so 145 million almost, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that. 144 million, that's what we gotta get doing, man. Gotta get on that meditation here. And Russia basically is the biggest country in terms of the size, so geographical size. But in comparison with the population per size is, of course, the density is not high. So if you want to calculate in comparison to Indonesia. See, I kind of know this stuff. I'm always got to revise, you know, every month, every year, because it always population increases and territories change. Right? They state and dominion of territories change. And here I gotta give a shout out in my neighborhood. I wish I got some money to finance to invest and do something with that building, and it's been like that for like 3.5 years. But I used to do laundry there. I used to do laundry there. You know, so that's what we have, you know, for to go there, and that's what we gotta get doing on that, you know. Get a little bit of that laundry. I used to do laundry there. I used to do laundry for a few years, but I gotta give a shout out to my anonymous friend, and got the washer and the dryer and the washer, dryer. So I get both at home now. I don't have to dry it anywhere at home. So I broke the handle the other day. I put $10, although I think it's more. But you know, I always gotta get some money. Gonna give half to my anonymous friends. So that's how we're gonna get workout and train and exercise, and we're gonna get it on that hydration. We're gonna get on that doing, and we're gonna get it for the building, for the XYZ, and that's how we're gonna get regulating here in the neighborhood, and gonna discuss a little bit of that geopolitics, and to finalize on Asperger's. Asperger's, again, is a neurological mental divergent condition. It makes us Aspies just super focused, super intense, super concentrated when it comes to those special interests. And my holy trinity of special interests is geopolitics, sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and rock and roll. So that's always for yours truly 24/7, that trinity. And unfortunately, sometimes we tend to neglect. Sometimes we tend to neglect other things around the house, or whatever the case may be, right? So we tend to have, to the detriment, negative effects on our being super focused, super intense, super concentrated. When I do marching, when I do dancing, when I work out, I can be super intense, and I am super intense, super concentrated, super focused. Because I love fitness, I love sports, and you know, I started working on my fitness journey after I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017, and I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. I look back on some videos on a YouTube channel, and you see me where I am now, but plus 80 pounds. So you know, that's something which you gotta consider as I'm Gonna wait here to cross on the bus. I'm gonna salute the workers in milk producers, those who drain on those cows, those who put it in the with the brains and the muscle. Milk producers. Gonna give some salutation. Steel workers, and gonna see how that tough time goes. But nonetheless, my vision to fuse the north here to North strong and free with the south, home of the brave and the land of the free. We gotta add some loving in both the strong and freedom and love and bravery. Beautiful crow there, but we gotta give for that salutation in the sun for the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories. My way of fusion of Canada and United States best, and I gotta salute the first responders. Get out of the way of the ambulances. You know, a little bit of delay until you get back home is not a big problem. You know, time, and I've been delayed. I've been rejected. I had closed doors. I have scars. I have misunderstandings, Asperger's, you know, and being an Asp is something which sometimes we can be pretty direct or rude or offensive, and that's how we are sometimes, and that's how we can be. I've learned a lot of lessons because, you know, Aspies, we certainly have our vulnerabilities, and I have to be prudent and always build bridges, but set some boundaries, because Aspies can be abused and misunderstood and abused, and gotta get it on the go, you know, for the firefighters and for this, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know, with that drill, you know, we gotta get on that go. We gotta get it on the go, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, man. Gotta get some of that XYZ, and gotta get some of that loving with that, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. Gotta send some loving to the firefighters, you know. The firefighters, and the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and the grocery store clerks, and all involved in the production, distribution of food, and that's how we're gonna get rock and rolling with that, and that's how we gotta get spit in and spit out and clean and get dirty, get back clean. And again, Asperger's, unfortunately, in my community, there's a very super high, way too much unemployment rate. It's between 60 and 80%. Watch the cars. The cars gotta watch the kids more first and foremost. So between 60 and 80%. 60 and 80%. That's how we gotta get doing with that, you know? That's how we gotta get loving, man. And my auntie there, special cousins and all who come to join us, of course, from all over the world here in the kingdom, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom there. And again, there's a high unemployment rate between 60s and 80. 60 and 80, it's 11 times bigger than the majority of the population, the high unemployment rate. 11 times bigger. 11 times, keep that in mind mathematically. So it's between 60% and 80%. Beautiful little yellows. 60 and 80%, that's a big problem for my community. We have employment, we have jobs, but keeping them long term is the problem. I had many jobs in the past. Just during COVID, I had like 5, 6. Before, in the past 7 years, I had like 8, 9, but it's just keeping them long term, because there's just a lot of misunderstanding of what Asperger's is. It's not something that is contagious. It's not something that it can be caught or transmitted. There's these mutations in the brain, and there's no medication for Asperger's, because it's not a mental illness. It's just our brain has these mutations, and we have our characteristics and our behavior, which seems a bit strange and odd in the way we communicate certain things, and our super focus, super intensity, super concentration on a special interest. And me, when it comes to geopolitics, I do all day geopolitical theoretical analysis 24/7, even in my sleep. Rock and roll, sports and fitness. Dancing being my favorite sport. Now I bust a dance move with my teeth, my tongue, my toes, my hands, and a little of the body. And I create choreography, you know, as I go around about it. But that's my trinity. For somebody else, it could be something else. For another aspect, it varies as an individual. But unfortunately, parallel to a very, very, very high, disproportionate unemployment rate is also the very high suicidal tendencies. Suicidal tendencies and depression rates. the depression rates and the suicidal tendencies, you know. That's what we gotta get doing with that. The suicidal rates and the depression rates are very high among Aspies may have lived, you know, being depressed and being suicidal, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get rock and rolling, you know, to the XYZ, and that's what we gotta get doing for the lovebirds and the birds, and that's what we gotta be consummate about, you know, for the 3G towers, 4G towers, 5G towers, and no need to stingray me, no need to stingray me, you know. If you get that stingray, I got nothing to hide. Sometimes maybe I'm too blunt and direct about certain things, and no need to spy on me. Secret services of China, you know, Russia, China, Russia. No need to spy on me, Russia, China. I guess how that tree is kind of split into several pieces. See, if you notice like that, kind of clenched on the side of the tree. See how it is? Just split open like that. I don't know, it's just something about the tree. It's just artistic, eh? The tree. This you gotta look up sometimes to see the beauty of nature, you know. I kind of see, I don't know if you see the mathematical pattern. It seems like they're twins, see? Kind of like twins, see? 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So it seems like they're twins. You see? Although it seems like one is slightly older, not by much. It seems like they're twins, but one is kind of slightly older. You see what I mean? So kind of, I don't know if you can see it. Check it. My mind is making some mathematical ratio proportions and symmetrical values now. So the symmetrical evaluation of those trees, which can be used for defensive purposes if I'm to do a geopolitical military-like drill. But of course, my mind, of course, sees a mathematical pattern, kind of like they're twins, you know. Right? Like they're twins type of trees, and there's certain beauties to them how they are. If you see, they kind of look very twin. See, they have the same kind of branches on the one side, and a little bit of branches, 4 on the one side, and then the other one there on the other side, and the top seems to be similar as well. See? Twins, but one seems to be slightly older. Twin trees. Maybe this is an Aspie type of thing, you know. And now we focus on certain details and things of that nature, but whatever the case may be, I'm not violent. I don't like violence. I do not like violence. I lived myself. I've been attacked by surprise, you know. Fell, hit my head in the concrete. I have to retrieve. Hopefully by next week I'll go, because I got to do a lot of things. But see, due to the special interest and my routine and ritualized, like rigid type of routine sometimes, but I can be flexible, and of course I can be flexible with that. But I can be, of course, flexible. But of course, Aspies, we have our routines, and sometimes it's more difficult to integrate in our routine something else. But I'm flexible. I can like change, especially economic, financial, commercial change, because look at those beautiful butterflies and yellow flowers. Hey, look at that beautiful yellow. Let's see, does it smell? Slight scent. It's got a slight scent to it, but that's what it is, and that's what it is with that, you know. So it's something which we have to be preoccupied about, which we got to do it as an individual level and part of a collective, and that's all we're gonna get doing with that, you know. That's all we're gonna get doing, you know. So that's why we're gonna get that drill, man, you know. Always, there we go. We got some security forces on the bikes. Got some things which now my brain switches to geopolitics, because I'm close to the railways, and of course close to the highways, and that's all we're gonna get doing with that. So being that I'm close to the railways, I'm close to the highways, that is something which we gotta be mindful about, you know. Gotta be on that mindfulness, and gotta be on that drill, you know. Gotta be on that focus, and unfortunately, like I said, I'm gotta go retrieve my medical archives from the Jewish General Hospital, because I was attacked by surprise a few years ago and fell, hit my head on the concrete. I was bloodied up, and had a dislocated right arm. I went to the hospital emergency, and it was cracked back. It was kind of placed back to crack back together. Crack, and I was put on some meds for pain, and I had like my coma. I had like a coma. I was like kind of in a coma state, you know. So I had my own silly Empire episode, I guess. And wow, just gorgeous here. What? I just gave me so much freshness. Just wow, so beautiful there in the midst of the beautiful kind of violet, kind of purple and white flowers there, just a cluster of them. Just the beauty of nature here in a big metropolis city. So I hit my head, I had a dislocated right arm, and I went to the hospital. I was placed on a coma, and I was kind of like in a coma for I don't know exactly how long. And then before that, my memory is kind of blackout, like retrograde amnesia. So I have difficulties retracing and difficulties accessing and remembering my memory prior to that event. And prior to not just that event specifically, but to living there in an underground prison-like cell, so underground, tiny, even tinier, smaller, more minuscule than where I live now. It was really small, tiny, and I used to live there, and it was moldy, lots of mold. So maybe the mold, maybe I have like flashes of trauma, and that's what I gotta get doing. See, now my mind switches to geopolitics, and then of course the geopolitical events, and like that train and that truck together, how of course they're going east, west, north, south about. And in the case that we are the North American complexities, and the North American geographical complexities which we have, is the fact that today we are on the point of vulnerability, that we are vulnerable in case of our geopolitical situation, that we are vulnerable due to several levels and several layers of whence we have potential sabotage, you know. So we have potential sabotage, and we're open for potential sabotage and espionage right in the collective North America civilizational complex. And of course, see, now my brain focuses on geopolitics, and I want to check a little bit of that. Paul Light, St. Louis, Saint Jean sur Richelieu in 20. Oh, my eyes! I was prescribed some glasses, but for affordability wise, I said forget it, because the government is gonna cover like half. Still got to put 120, which I don't have, and I wonder what those numbers are. Represent the numbers there, you know. 2019, and the other classification, it says 2019 CSA, so it's something which is an ASPE thing, you know, ASPE-esque, as I am calling for the Trinity arteries to be implemented. And I don't know much about where this train is going and that truck is going, and the train and the truck where they're heading, but I know that potentially, of course, they're having lots of goodies, which of course they're vital for the civilizational sphere of the North American collective, for the collective North American civilizational sphere. And that's how we gotta get a little bit on the go. And they're going east, west, north, south, and I'm going south, and many of them are going roundabout, coming from the east on the hot day, and they're going maybe coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And you know, we gotta get it on that train, conductors, the butchers, the bakers, those planes and those trains, and they're vital for the North American collective. And see, now they're trailing. They should have been clearing the streets a while ago, but see, they got late traffic jam, 5 cars, and it was green for the others to pass, so they kind of passed on the red. But you know how it is with congestion, and it's the traffic hour season. I wonder about this Shabbat transport, SHABAD. Shabbat looks like it's kind of cool. They're going west, and these other ones are going east, and now I'm going south. And all the truckers, gotta salute a little bit of that truckers, but see how my brain works now? Because geopolitics is my special interest. I am integrating this event, me going south, marching, working out, training, exercising. Of course, with all that's happening now across the highways of the North American collective, across all the bridges, the highways, and everything that's happening now across the highways and the bridges, across the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories, 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories, across the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories, and everything that's transpiring now, you know, in the world. And all the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, grocery store clerks, and all who begin commencing their fitness journeys now. I gotta give y'all also a little bit of that salutation, because that fitness journey is important, and we gotta click and clack, and we gotta support each other, I guess, more as we can. I have began my fitness journey after I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017. In August, I went in British Columbia, Vancouver, BC, and that event made me come out of being depressed and being suicidal, because prior to that event, I was depressed, I was suicidal, and now, I'm pretty joyous, but still financially stressed. But I got a $9.20 on me, so if I want to spend some money until Friday, because Friday I got a new allotted budget, but until Friday, when the new $20 budget kicks in for the weekend, I got $9.20. So I guess I can get a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of sweets, a little bit of caramel, whatever it is, to celebrate my more than 5-hour marching today, which is going to be more than 5 hours. Yesterday did more than 5 hours, and today going to go roundabout like that by the river, and then clock it in by 8:44 to get around the sunset. I'm going to try to be home by 10, meaning that's going to give me 6 hours, because I left, it was 3:58 p.m. So I left, it was 3:58, because I achieve it to do a minimum 20 hours a week of marching, dancing workouts, such as this vlog here that I'm doing, marching workout on my work. There's a YouTuber here on the streets of Montreal and in the wilderness. But yesterday we went to the mountains, so today we're gonna go by the river, by the mountain, and tomorrow we're probably gonna try to hit that gymnasium, because I began a few weeks of rights, a few weeks of before summer, type of getting fit, and that's how we're gonna try to do, and that's how we try to get it on, to get some of that good fitness, and happening, and we'll continue to call for the mass financing of fitness. And back to a little bit on N.A.C.W.Ps. Again, the problem is that we tend to focus so much on our special interests, and we have this routine on the daily basis that it can preoccupy with intensity, hyper focus, super intensity, our daily activities, rites, and rituals that we do. And see, now I see that train, I see that it's carrying some cargo. See there in the distance, it's carrying some cargo. See, carrying some of that cargo. So it's carrying some cargo. Lots of cargo seems. So I don't know exactly, are they empty, half full? Some of them are empty, some of them are not. Are they carrying wheat? Are they carrying grains? Are they carrying some other goods? But I know that probably if they're carrying goods, they're vital, because we depend on the highways and the trains, and these trains and highways, they're potential open for sabotage and espionage, because we made powerful enemies, exterior foreign enemies, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, That's how we got to put the Dragon Army 9 for the new 911, total security, total service, total defense protocols, as you see there. Canada United States joint, and you see how big it is. The train, gonna salute LOV, the train conductors with it, so gotta salute the train conductors with it, gotta salute the train conductors, a long train. I know that is going west, maybe Smith, maybe Johnson, maybe another Dragon, somebody maybe who's driving it, I don't know, but I know that they're probably vital for the North American Collective. There sure are. But in terms of how XYZ vital, in terms of percentage, we could classify it as red, super important, super vital, and then we can have green and yellow and so on and so forth. We can have a classification system, as I'm not going to discuss that too much, because that's again part of the new 911 total security, total service, total defense protocols, and part of Operation Northern Scorpio, which I'm calling to be implemented for the 63 coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the 10 provinces, 50 territories, and 3 states, and implement Operation Northern Scorpio and the new 911 Dragon for total security, total service, total defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. So there's a classification system for the most vital points of our North Collective civilizational sphere, for the continuity. And of course, it's food, housing, shelter, and our water supplies. Yeah, I got that from the Hamlet today. So I gotta give a salutation to the Hamlet, hold a vigil for that specific hamlet, which finds itself on this border. And we need to get rid of the border. We don't need the border. We need to get coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and to fuse via public-private partnership. And please, Dragon versus Trump. I would have voted Kamala, but I was born in the United States three times. Once as a woman, twice as a man. You get that 50-50. Now I was born here on the island, so my mystic side aside and beliefs in reincarnation aside, we really need to implement the DRT, death refusion theory, which I'm going to discuss in a bit. But again, to finalize it and to say that we are open for potential sabotage and espionage due to our involvement, not just in a humanitarian manner, but in a military manner. We provided arms and munitions, and somebody might pull an Operation Spiderweb on our North American supply chains. Operation Spiderweb on our North American supply chain. Operation Spiderweb on our North American supply chains. Operation Northern Spiderweb on our North American Collectif. Or pull one on us, eh? Because you see the solidification of Russia and China in the past 3.5 years. China might invade Taiwan tonight. And this is geopolitics, and that was exactly my premise in 2019. One of the main premises, because he was an intellectual, in-depth academic, quite scholarly geopolitical analysis and theorizing when I predicted what's happening now in a general manner, not detail by detail, but generally I predicted what's happening now. And see, those are hawks in the sky. By the way, they fly, they don't flap. 3 of them, that's a good omen. 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hawks. 4 hawks, how they fly. I think there's a 5th one in the distance. Oh, see how they fly? They just glide, and they go high in the sky. My totem bird, the hawk, and we need to get that golden dome. We need to put Canada in, and that needs to be the golden hawk dome, including Canada. Here we got hawks, and we got one type of Scorpio, so with the golden hawk above and the Scorpio below, because we got a scorpion that goes from Mexico called the Northern Scorpio. It's found in Mexico, it's found in the United States, and it's found all the way in Canada. The only species of scorpion is found in Canada. It's called the Northern Scorpion. The Northern Scorpion. So I've concocted, and is inspired by my 2017 trip, the Operation Northern Scorpion, which I cannot discuss totally too much, but it's of course based on total mobile defense theory. Total mobile defense theory. TM, total mobile defense theory. TM, total mobile defense theory. That's the downtown area, see? Total mobile defense theory. The total mobile defense theory, when I put an S, the total mobile defense theory, the TM, total mobile DT defense theory, when we add a 4th letter to that acronym and it becomes a system, that means that we implement it. And that's the mountain there. See, that's where we were yesterday's video. Atop there, you can see it afar off. The mountain on the island of Montreal can be seen afar off. The island on the mountain of Montreal can be seen afar off. The island on the mountain of Montreal can be seen afar off. We can see it afar off there, and that's how we gotta get drilling with that. And that's the mountain there, Mount Royal, West Mount Royal, and that's how we're gonna get drilling, man. So the total mobile defense theory, I cannot discuss it over much because I have to discuss it with the new Defense Minister of Canada, David McGuinty, and big headset, and Minister of National Security, and Pam Bondi as well, Pam Bondi, Minister of Public Security, Defense, and Police. And all securities, institutions and organizations of the Canada-United States joint, and of course the Director of National Intelligence, Director of National Intelligence and of CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Services, and etc., etc., etc. So I limit myself about the discussion of the total mobile defense theory. When we had the fifth acronym, the S, that is that it is a system and it's put into practice and implementation. The theory is put into practice and implementation. So that's what we gotta get doing, and that's how we gotta get rolling, you know, is we need to get coast to coast, ocean to ocean for the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories. Please don't pollute here. We need to do a lot of cleaning. That's why we need that DGA parallel, complementary to the Dragon Army, aka the North American Integrated Security and Service and Defense Legion, only for SSD, Security Service and Defense Legion, and the Dancing Goddess Army. The Dancing Goddess Army. To be for aka the North American Integrated Dance League. To be for total rejuvenation on the environment, environmental education, and environmental action and education. See, lots of cleaning need to be done, and breaks my heart. I'm gonna check on the way. We're gonna do a test, and you're gonna see, and we're gonna assess. We're gonna see and we're gonna assess. Of course, we're gonna assess all the bins. That's how we're gonna do. We're gonna assess the bins, and we're gonna assess those bins, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna get doing on the go, you know, for the assessment of those bins, and we're gonna get it on the go to that, and so we're gonna get doing, you know, so gonna get doing on that go, you know. So the Dancing Goddess Army, see, cleaning, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that. We're gonna get some cleaning with that, and the DGA, the North American Integrated Dance League, is going to be, of course, for pleasure and purpose, and is going to have it basically is going to serve as a purpose. The purpose which is going to serve is going to be, of course, to be for security, for service, but in a environmental manner, by dancing for pleasure, because dancing is my favorite sport, dancing. Even I dance a little bit now, and of course parallel with that is going to be, of course, another one which is going to be the environmental cleaning, and education. You know, I can always do better myself if we have the individual and the collective, and the individual and the collective, you know, is something which we have to have, and it's part of the individual and the collective, and that's how we're gonna get doing, man, you know, part of the individual and the collective, and we're gonna get that rock and roll, and that's how we're gonna get hydration. So we're gonna get some loving, and that's how we're gonna get a little bit of that. Some sweets. Feel like going a little bit of getting some sweets there at the Maxi, I guess. Maybe we should, or going to the other place. How about it? Left or right or left? Maybe go get some wafers. I haven't got wafers in a while, but let's go, I guess, for the... So the creation of the Dancing Goddess Army, you know, to be for environmental education, environmental action. See, this doesn't have... That has to be recycled. There's lots of work which we need to do just on the island, just in the bins, you know, checking the bins. Unplacing, taking the things that have to go in the recycling and putting them in the recycling. That's labor, that's work, that's effort that somebody has to do, you know, because if we don't do it as individuals, then it's also the collective. So it's not just an individual responsibility, a collective one as well. Both, it goes hand in hand. If the individual doesn't do it, that's what we got to do. The individual and the collective, they got to work hand in hand, got to work hand in hand for that. So that's what we're gonna get doing, man. Gotta get that DGA, Dancing Goddess on it, which is gonna serve to be for the environment, for environmental education and action, and the Dragon Army, both public-private partnership based, because my dream, the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, are fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex. That's what basically they are, a call for a public-private partnership across North America. So that's basically fundamentally what my dream entails. What my dream is a public-private partnership for and across and for the North American civilizational complex to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions of the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated SSD Legion, Security Service and Defense Legion, and the Dancing Goddess Army, DGA, the North American Integrated Dance League, part of my dream, the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom for the North American Collective for the 63. We're gonna go with Maxi. For the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. That's what we gotta get doing, and gonna go at the shop, I'm gonna give some salutations now to the workers, the cashiers, working a little bit of that cashier work and doing some of that labor themselves with the cash registry and whatever the case may be, all the warehouse workers. I gotta salute them, and I gotta go in and out just basically as minimally as I can, because I don't want to waste time. That is, not waste time in that manner, is just because I want to get towards the sunset, and as we're gonna go south and then turn around about, I guess we're gonna face the sun is gonna be facing us in a directional manner, as it is above the average today. Today is way above the average, and that's how we gotta get drilling. It's, I think, 26 now. When I left it said 26, so it might even reach, because it's like 5:25 now, 5:25, and maybe we got that go with that, and that's how we gotta get drilling, man. And 5:25, so 8:36, the sunset, 8:36. I mean, 3 hours and 11 minutes, if I'm correct in the timing. I could be off. 3 hours and 11 minutes. So I guess it's gonna be on the go with it, love, and getting a little bit of hydration here as we go. I'm not sure if I need a cart. I think I'm gonna take a cart anyways. If this one's available, I'm gonna take this one. I don't know if they're all the same size, but I'm just gonna discuss the DRT after. Just gonna do a little bit of shopping here with the cart. $9 budget. I'm just gonna check the prices real quick, and it's gonna be in and out, Oh, this one, Barbie Rose. Okay, I never tried this one, Barbie Rose. There is Canadian. Barbie Rose, made in Canada, made in Canada, made in Canada. So it's gonna be a pink Barbie Rose. Oh, you got several Barbies. Yeah, I like pink. Don't sue me, I'm part of the LGBTQ community, but I'm a centrist, but I just want to try it. It's new on the market, so I want to try it, and I just want to try it, and that's it, I'll make a big deal, I guess. So I see that the prices of the coffee has really increased. So this one, I bought it before 10, just 2 years ago. A year ago, even a year and a half ago. No name, it was $6.99. I can't believe how much it's gone up. This one was good, but see, this all sold out because that's a big rebate from $9.99 to $5.27. Do the calculation, it's almost half, more than 44% off from $9.99 to $5.20. So that's a good rebate. But coffee I have for now, I don't really need to get until probably next week. But otherwise, this brand No Name, I can't believe how much it increased. It's just incredible. The increase of No Name coffee, just more than double. I bought it for $6.99 just 3.5 years ago, several times, and I think it increased 3 times since. I can't believe it. More than double. Used to be $6.99 3.5 years ago. So it increased more than double. So all the coffee prices have increased, but their salaries have stagnated. So that's the major problem. That's why my DRT has to be implemented. Even these wafers. So these wafers are my favorites. They increased only by 25 cents. It's still a good deal. So I'm gonna just take. That's all I'm gonna get. So I'm gonna take two hazelnuts, and it's $1.25 each. They're 175 grams, and they're good. So it's $5. So I'm in the budget. That's it. I'm in the budget. I just want to try this there because I was gonna see these ones, but no, I'm not gonna get the other ones. But this one is pretty good. $2.50 is okay. $2.50 is okay. You got, but I really want to try this one, pink lemonade, premium cream filled cookies. So I'm gonna try those. Canadian. These are imported, but it's a good deal because they're good, and the grams are 175. So for 125, so they increased from $1 to 125 about 2 years ago. A year and a half ago they increased. So that's still 25 cents. If you calculate the percentage, if you calculate the increase in percentages for the certain coffees, especially that one, the No Name one, it's really, I bought it 3.5 years ago for $6.99. Regular price $6.99. Now it's $6.16 regular price. So it increased by, do the math, round up $6.99 to $7 by $9. So the ratio is 156% kind of the ratio. Salut.
Est-ce qu'on a la carte de poche?
Mhm.
Ah, un total de 7,50.
C'est bon ça. Est-ce que tu payes avec la carte, s'il te plaît?
Vous avez pas... voyons. Ils en ont fait 2208.
Ok. C'est correct.
282 points, ça vous prend 10 000 points.
Ça va me prendre 10 000, ok.
Ouais.
Fait que je suis pas rendu dans le fond, là.
Non.
Je vais te payer ça comptant, s'il te plaît.
Parfait.
Ah ouais, parce que la politique, c'est 10 $ minimum. C'est
Ouais,
pour ça,
c'est
c'est
ça.
pas pour chaque dollar, chaque ok. Ah ouais, ouais. Merci. 7,70?
7,50.
Ok. Je vous donne. Je vais prendre le 10. Merci. Je vais vous prendre la facture, s'il vous plaît.
Parfait. Et voilà.
Merci. Et une augmentation salariale à vous. Moi, je vous le donnerai en tout cas si je serai boss. Ciao, ciao. That's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. And we got it here, man. We got it stacked, and I didn't go over my budget, which I'm happy. We're gonna leave it right here, so we're gonna put it into the corner here. $7.50 for 4 items. $125, $2.50, $3.75, $5, and $7.50. So that's the bill for you, and that's shopping for today. So I'm still left over with $1.50. $1.50. $1.50. So I'm gonna stack it up, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, of course, disinfect it, because I got carrying that open made in Canada, made in Canada, made in Canada disinfectant. So this basically is a made in Canada hand antiseptic, made in Ontario. Canadian made antiseptic. So I'm gonna spray. It's a bit colder, so I'm gonna clean all the products with the antiseptic to kill the bacteria, microbes, and germs. And while they're there in the bag, it's gonna be in the backpack. So just because I don't know how many people touched it, and as you can see, these ones, they were already touched a lot, so several people touched it. So I'm just gonna disinfect it with the hand sanitizer, which is gonna kill the bacteria, germs, and microbes. And see, this is made in Canada. You got that made in Canada, made in Canada, made in Canada. So I'm happy, joyous. I'm not gonna eat all these tonight, of course. Gonna split. It has to last me today, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So it has to last me exactly 3 nights, 3 workouts. That's for 3 workouts, because that's my budget until Friday, because I still got $1.50 left. So maybe I'm gonna get another chocolate bar with that $1.50, maybe not. That's all we're gonna get or not. We're gonna get it on the drill, but maybe we're gonna get it on the go, you know. So something which we gotta get doing, you know, for the lovers, for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and those doctors, firefighters, plumbers, electricians. That's what we gotta get doing with that. We're gonna get doing on the go, man. That's what we LOV, and this is where I'm gonna get putting the backpack on. That's what we're gonna get doing, you know. Gonna get some of that good stuff, and gonna get doing on that go, man. We're gonna go all the way inside, load it up. Gotta get doing with that, and gotta get doing on that. Rock and roll for the lovers, the lovers, the lovers. You know, gotta make some of that good loving, and it's always good to get some of that good love, you know. Right here in this underground, from underground room of St. Temple to the mountain, I saw a couple there, and that's how we're gonna get doing, man. And gonna get lover for the, you know, the cashier workers. For the workers here, I gotta give some salutations, you know, because I'm not totally selfless, but I'm not that selfish to not. In these tough economic times, we need to do better, because, you know, the prices have increased, and, you know, too much concentration of wealth, you know. We're on the verge of a financial collapse. We're on the verge of a financial collapse. So I'm going to discuss the DRT now. The DRT, as I just make that statement, I'm just going to bag this up, make sure I got that backpack closed, everything's there on the good side of things. And, you know, I'm just going to stop at the other one there, and I'm going to apply some sunscreen and really double check to make sure that the backpack is in order, so that my wafers don't fall, you know, because I don't mind giving charity, you know, out of my volition, but I don't want it to be wasted, you know, otherwise it's wasteful. So we got somebody had left right here in the corner. I guess, is this a designated area for, I guess it's raid like that. I'm not sure if it's raid. I guess you can leave these here, but it's part of the whole complex. So I'm just gonna double check exactly how much I have leftovers. So I got $1.30 So I didn't go over budget. That's what I'm happy. I'm happy I didn't go over budget. I stayed within my $9.20 budget. So I got $1.60, $1.70. Yeah, because 9. That's what I should have. 9.20 minus 7.50 is exactly $1.70, $1.70, which is what the mathematical equation represents. So that's correct. Give me an exact change if you want to double check the bill sometimes, you know, because sometimes a few weeks ago you see me, I have it on the recording, on the video, on the YouTube. I went and they charged me the old price. It wasn't the price on special, and because it wasn't the price on special, I had to return and double check and had to get that money back and got the reimbursement, because it was not the fault of the cashier, but they didn't put it properly in the register, the new special price. So it had charged me the old price, right? So because he had charged me the old price, I didn't get the special, in other words. So I didn't get the special. So here we are, gonna rock and roll that and gonna put it in the backpack like that. Yeah, there we go. Now we make sure we're good to go with that before we discuss the DRT. And we got a long road now. Now it's got a bit more weight, and I got those red gloves which my anonymous friend gifted yours truly back in 2018 when I first started challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match. You know, I have been able to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since the mistake granddaddy Trump made a mistake to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, just like if imposing more tariffs on Canada. That's a mistake. The other business with other, of course, I'm gonna go all the way to NATO it. But of course, Canada and the United States, the statement which I'm gonna make now is that this following statement, which I'm gonna make, is that our best interest, most important, is of course. So this statement that I'm gonna make now is just like the pi symbol, you know, the mathematical pi symbol, just like the pi. So pi is the symbol in mathematics, which is proportional for a circle, their circumference, the diameter as well. So it's always 3.1416. 3.1416, it continues ad infinitum, 3.1416. So this diameter, of course, in proportion, it's of course the proportional representation for a circle. The diameter, of course, in concordium, the ratio within the circle and the diameter of a circumference for the circle. The pi is always the same number. It's a constant, mathematical constant. So this one I'm going to say now, geopolitically, is a mathematical constant for us. Is a mathematical constant. Is a mathematical constant for us, North Canadians. And my brothers and sisters in the USA is reciprocal, but us, Uncle Carney, Uncle Legault, our primary interest, political, I'm speaking about foreign, external policies, not domestic internal policies, but when it comes to foreign affairs, our main number one political interest in terms of foreign affairs, in terms of geopolitics, is to have the best, most cordial relations, economic, financial, commercial, defense, security, service relations with the United States, with my brothers and the sisters in the United States. That is just how it is with that. Our best cordial relation is to have all the best relation with my brothers and sisters in the United States. That is just how it is, you know. We got to get through it. That's just the foremost things which we got to be doing. Our best relations is to be concordium form with the United States. Economic, financial, commercial relations with the United States. That's just how it is. Our number one principle, economic, financial, social, economic, concordium, geopolitical reason, is to have the best, most possible relations with the United States. In terms of geopolitics, in terms of fitness, in terms of course, arts, culture, the geopolitical relations, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing. That's what we gotta get doing. And that's how we gotta get on the concordium, you know. That's just how it is with us. Geopolitical interests, economic, financial, commercial, otherwise. Defense, security, service. At all levels, diplomatic, social, cultural, is to have the best, most cordial, friendly, and mutually beneficial relations with the United States and the 50 states. Vice versa, my brothers and sisters in the 50 states, in the good old USA, where I was born 3 times, once as a woman, twice as a man, served in the same United States Army, 156 years apart in the same army, is to have the best relations with us. We're 44 million, you're more than 340 million. Our resources, your population and enterprise and spirit and our resources together conjointly, we're gonna add it all together up, and we're gonna fuse across the 63, the dream, the dancing goddess, and the dragon kingdom, and we're gonna implement the DRT. We're gonna get rid of the border, because I heard more investments in the borders. I mean, I don't know, geopolitically you realize the border is not necessary, where the fentanyl and all the crime and all the organized international underworld criminal elements of the underworld, which can be mobilized and can be financed in concordium with foreign agents of other states, XYZ other states, of which we made enemies in the past 5 years, and which can utilize our vulnerabilities, just like I have to protect my vulnerabilities as an N.A.C.P and other vulnerabilities for the dynamics, and that's what we gotta get doing, and their vulnerabilities, you know. Because we have certain vulnerabilities in North American Collective, certain openness and certain diversity, which people can hijack it in different ways, and even mobilizing and international underworld elements, international underworld elements. And so those are things of point of concordance, which we gotta be mindful of, and we have to be aware of that, you know, that those can be used to the detriment of our North American collective civilizational complex. That's why we got to focus coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the ports and the airports. I got to know everything that's coming in the 63 from outside, the ports and the airports, everything that's coming into the 63, the ports and the airports. That's all we got to get doing to make a great census, a great inventory, a great census, a great inventory, a great census. That's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, you know, to get it on the now, you know. That's how we gotta get doing, you know, the great North American linguistic compromise, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, you know. So something which we gotta get doing, you know, on the buses, the buses, and you know, we got to get doing on the concordium, on the compromise, the North American linguistic compromise, and the loving side of things right here under the sun, on the stars on earth, you know. Got to get it for all those butchers, the bakers, and the nurses, and the doctors, and the firefighters, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, you know. We got to get it for them, and we got to get it for their appellations, and we got to get it for their well-being and their wellness and their strategies for the SSD, total security, total service, and total defense, you know, for the North American Concordium till the end, you know. We gotta get it till the end, on the go and on the left, and gotta get it now in the sun, you know, as we go, and gotta get it for that left, right, and center, and sometimes we gotta get it on the center for the well-being and the well-being of others, you know. We gotta get it for those who are different than us, for all minorities, myself being part of this tiny small fraction of a minority, Asperger's. I have to learn myself. I learned a lot because I am Asperger's. We can be vulnerable, and we live a lot of abuse, a lot of trauma, a lot of misunderstandings, high unemployment rates, very high unemployment, and I dealt with being suicidal and depressed, and across Canada, coast to coast. So we need to mass finance fitness across the 63, and now we gotta get doing on the XYZ for the love, and for the love side of things, and we gotta get it on the do, you know. Gotta get on that butchers and the bakers, the nurses, and all those, of course, who get it on that polity, you know, for the XYZ, and they wanna get it now. And see here, we cross the street prudently as we go, man. Gotta get some of that. Oh, I guess a cart went out of place. 6'5" XYZ, you know. That's what we gotta get doing with that, man. Gotta get doing for that love, and we gotta get doing for getting across the other side. Usually I stay here, but there's the children and the population, so I just want to go on the other side, because usually we girls just go there, but I guess now is a good idea to just go on the other way. So I'm going to discuss the DRT, Debt Refusion 2, for the creation of the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. gonna get out of the way for the fellow bikers, and that's how we're gonna get it on the go with that. And of course the DRT, like I said, just to finalize on our potential vulnerabilities. We have potential vulnerabilities now as we had before, but now, of course, during the solidification of several alliances, such as the Russian alliance, that's how we got, and that's how we got to get doing with that, and that's how we got to get doing for the love side of things, and we got to get it for the love and the butchers and the nurses and the doctors and the firefighters and all those, of course, involved in the production, distribution of food, those who got to get it on the elements now, providing all whatever the case may be with that, and all the cases which will be provided, and that's how we gotta get doing, Gotta get on that rock and roll. So my vulnerabilities is an N.A.C.W.P. Also, I have my great strengths, powers, and super fitness. Definitely I'm super focused, super fit, and in terms of geopolitics we can discuss it. It's important to take my elements, the elements of my geopolitical analysis, which we have, of course, the elemental geopolitics which we got in concordium for that, and that's how we have to get doing with that, so we got to get doing with that, something which we got to get doing with that, and we got to get doing on the rock and roll things of that, and we got to get on the do that, so something which we got to get on the concordium side of things, it's something which we got to be a blessing, it's rock and roll, man. Things are not always as they seem, but in terms of geopolitics, we got to get our act together, and I believe for the collective, for the 10 provinces, and 50 states and 3 territories, that's how we got to get doing on the most, and that's how we got to get doing on the collective, I got to give a salutation to the workers here, when they get those buildings up, and yeah, LOV, I love cranes, I got a crane fetish, so I got to send some loving and be safe, get back home safe and make some loving, but since the construction workers, they go on the cranes, and they go on those cranes with the planes, and that's why they gotta get drilling with that, and that's what they gotta get doing on the go, and that's why they get on the left and on the right and in the center, and that's what they get on the loose, on the left, on the right, in the center, smack in the middle. Please don't pollute. But gotta salute construction workers and my brothers and sisters in Maryland. Gotta salute the firefighters and all the way on the coast, and all the way on the coast of the west, that west, that's what we gotta get doing with that. So we gotta get doing on the side, to get it on the love birds of things, and that's what we gotta get doing on the love side of things, and that's what we gotta get doing now, man. So, because I am calling for the building of the 444, the North American Imperial People's Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, to be, of course, 11 times bigger than the Harbor Ball, where the Harbor Ball was played. That is the Caesar Superdome. Caesar Superdome. The Caesar Superdome. That was one of my favorite Super Bowls. Was played in Louisiana. And of course, before that was known as the Mercedes-Benz Dome. And before that, it had another name. So go Hydro-Quebec, go Hydro-Quebec, go Hydro-Quebec, go. Always rock and roll for Hydro-Quebec workers between 1947 and 1991. My marches are for them, and I always wonder what these numbers are meant for. PTSS. See, that's aspiness for you. Hydro-Quebec, some Hydro-Quebec workers know, oh, that means P for something, T for S, maybe like an acronym, just like my total mobile defense theory. Get that TMDTS, get that TMDTS, and wow, look at these flowers, man. Oh my goodness, these are just gorgeous, man. Oh yeah, these are just fucking gorgeous. Oh yeah, these are just beautiful here. These are just beautiful. They're actually edible, eh? Look at these. Wow. Wow. Thank you. These are just gorgeous. Isn't it beautiful? Wow. That's what it is, So that's what beautiful there. So we gotta get doing on the go things, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, and we gotta get doing for the left and for the right, and gotta get doing for the left and right, and in the center sometimes, Here you got a nice alley. You can go that way, and I guess we can explore it one of these days. I guess we could have now, but I passed it, so I guess next time, and so we gotta get doing with the XYZ, you know. So the North American Civilizational Collective, and that's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. That's something which we go. That's how we gotta get focused, and you gotta get for the North American Collective. And again, we're open to vulnerabilities, you know. Just like I have and Aspies have the vulnerabilities, but you learn a lot, and you know, lots of learning and lots of doing and lots of learning with that, and that's what we have to, you know, get for the learn and get for the doers and get for the now and get for the XYZ and get for the love and get for the butchers, the bakers and the XYZ with that, and that's how we gotta get drilling, you know. For the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and the doctors, the firefighters, all those involved in the production, distribution of food, you know. Gotta get it on the doers, the bakers, the butchers, and all those who gotta get it now in the traffic lights. I'm gonna turn here to the right. We got that French here at Belle Province, and I turn here to the right side and gonna zigzag it a bit. And I just want to say that needs to be replaced. I was arguing for it to be replaced for that because it's got a lot of rust. Looks like it's about to fall down with it, and that's the Boulevard de Trinitaire. So that's what we're gonna get doing with the drill, and we're gonna go around about them that way. So basically we're going again to the Renewal Park, and that's where we're gonna drill it for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks. Again, of course, I'm calling for the building of the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the Forgotten Goddess Temple, which is of course the goddess created my surviving COVID, me surviving my depression, being suicidal to the Forgotten Goddess Judy DSS, and my will to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and which is going to be 11 times bigger, of course, than the Coliseum where we built it under that. And so we got to get doing with that, and so we got to get doing, you know. One minute. The first one. The first one. Teacher. That's how we gotta get doing, you know. So that's how we gotta get doing on that, you know. Something which we gotta be, you know. That's how we gotta get drilling, man. So of course the DRT, dead refusion theory, for the creation of the UE, that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and gonna wait here, you know, for the lights. We're gonna spread a little bit of that cheeks, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna get that rock and roll with them, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna get it on the doers, man. You know, we're gonna get on that appellation, you know, for the XYZ, and for the left, for the right, for the black and white, for the rainbow. That's what we're gonna be doing for that, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that XYZ. You know, we're gonna get that love, and the butchers, the bakers, and now we can cross. You know, it's nice, and gotta get it nice, gotta get it in, and gotta get it for the left, right, and center, and that's how we're gonna get drilling with that, you know, for the appellation, and for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and the firefighters. And again, geopolitically, we're at a tough position. It's a change world, you know. And as much as I understand peace through strength, you know, I don't fully support it, right? I don't fully support it. I do not fully support peace through strength. It's got to be counterbalanced by some love, by some loving, by some understanding, you know. You know me, how I rock and roll with that. Gotta add it a little bit of that good. And let's build the four, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome. Used to be known as the Mercedes Superdome, and before that had another name. Exchanged names just like yours truly changed names a few times with that. And that's how we gotta get doing it, change names a few times. And Adrian Hanna Dragon, yours truly changed my name officially, but still officially gotta pay that paper, so gotta go drilling with that. And of course, we're going to build the Forgotten Goddess Judy DSS temple, which I created Trillions of Kisses. And of course, parallel with that, we're going to build the pyramid, House of the Dragon, Scarlet Crimson, Crimson Scarlet, Red, and the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow LGBTQ community and neurodivergent community. That's how we got to get doing with that, and that's how we got to build, you know. Here I kind of like this Angrignot, how he needs some new paint to be freshened up a little bit, put some color on the gray sides, but needs to freshen up. How is that circle? A little bit of made beautiful orange circle. So build the four, where of course the North American People's Imperial Coliseum is going to be inaugurated on the Canadian-US border, and that's how we do, and that's how we're going to get doing with that. And gonna watch it how I cross the street here, left or right, because you never know, sometimes the buses come. So let's build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, where it's going to be me and Donald Trump fighting for the first time, an inaugurating event. The inauguration event is going to be me fighting Donald Trump in a sportsmanlike event, and of course it's going to have sports and in perpetuities after that, you know. We're going to have sports in perpetuity, sportis in perpetuities after that, and that's how we're going to get doing with that, and so we're going to get doing for the sports in perpetuities, man. Gotta salute the garbage collectors. Gotta salute the garbage collectors. You know, gotta salute those garbage collectors there. Picking up the garbage, you know. That's how they gotta get doing, and that's how they gotta get doing, you know. Salutation. Let's build it on the Canadian-US border of Canadian-United States cement and common building, public privacy, where we're gonna have sports in perpetuities, where we're gonna have, of course, people dancing, working out, training, fitness, NBA, NHL, MLB, Mo, university, high school events, of course, for fitness, events 24/7 for sports in perpetuities. And let's build to be the biggest building in the world ever built for sports, the biggest ever Coliseum for the 63 24/7 for sports in perpetuities on the Canadian-US border by Canadian joint aluminum and steel. Lots of steel, lots of cement, lots of good, lots of plastics. A building, a lot of colors. The Dragon Coliseum, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum for the 63 for sports in perpetuities. That's what we're gonna be doing for sports in perpetuities. That's what we're gonna be doing with that, and gonna watch it when we cross the street, brutally. That's how we're gonna get drilling with that. Let's go. Now we can pause. That's making a little bit of noise there. The car, I guess it's on the old side of things, but it's not a problem, I don't think. I don't know much about cars. An N.A.C.W.P that has a special interest about cars might know exactly what the problem is. So, I mean, I don't even know it's a problem or not, but I do know that we have a financial problem, myself included, financial stress, and much for Canada and the United States. The similar situation presents itself today on the 2nd of June. On this march as I go, of course, it is the 2nd of June. Marching towards the river, St. Lawrence, because it's Hawk Island is surrounded, Montreal is surrounded by a big river, a big metropolis of 2.5 million people. So that's why we're gonna go drill it with that, and that's why we're gonna go on the complementary things, you know. So it's something which we have to be doing and we have to be observant about. So let's build 444, and financially, both for the public and the private. Both for the public and the private, for the public and the private, of course. We are both in a similar financial precarious situation. We're both in a very similar financial precarious situation. So we're both in a very similar precarious financial situation. Individuals, we have record-breaking debt levels. Record-breaking debt. That's why at this moment in time, my DRT theory is what's made it a solution, and that gives me hope there. I see them getting a little bit of that hand, holding hands. That's worth fighting for and defending, a Dragonomy, not just Wall Street billionaires, millionaires. Don't be that selfish. I'm not totally selfless, but I gotta stick it in the middle, you know, some balance between the self and the other, and between the selfish side and the altruistic side. It's always a compromise and a balance which we have to be mindful so that people don't take advantage in whatever situations. Just like my own vulnerabilities due to having Asperger's, I had to, I guess, learn the hard way. Still learning every day, so many things I don't know, but I do know that today's financial situation for both the private citizens such as myself and other private citizens of the 63, the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, is in a similar position. And of course also for the public finances, because of course the public finances, we are on the verge of a public financial collapse. And yesterday I found an apple, today I'm gonna find another apple. I'm gonna wash it and smell it. Copper fruit, traveled all the way from Chile. Wow, Chile, see? The Royal Gala is imported, wow. All the way from the country of Chile. I wonder what that company is. Check it out for me, Dragonomy. Write them about us, the Dragonomy. We are us. We are one and we're the collective. We are none, we're the Dragonomy Royal Gala. So this can be salvaged, and it's gonna be my reward when I go back home. I'm gonna wash it and eat it, or for tomorrow's march. As I got in my pocket the one I found yesterday, I cleaned it, washed it at home. So you remember, why didn't you check my videos? And we found an apple yesterday and we found an apple today. So, you know, in terms of a World War III scenario, you know, you never know, man. Nuclear war, what if that's what was nuclear war? Now imagine Russia decides to get a preemptive nuclear strike in Ukraine. Preemptive nuclear strike with the new I'm not on the ground, so I cannot assess fully, So, but it's a possibility. It was close, Pakistan and India. So, I'm not gonna diverge into that geopolitical eventualities, but of course we're gonna get for the discussion of the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the DRT, the debt refusion theory for that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, you know. So we gotta get doing with that, and that's what, of course, I get it doing. Gotta get it on that go, you know. So something which I gotta get doing, man. Drilling, you know. So something which I gotta be doing on that, you know. So yeah, oh man, that's what we gotta get doing, and so we gotta get on that hydration when we march. So I'm looking for somewhere to hydrate. Smells like somebody smoking that. Legal cannabis, good. It's legal since 2019. So the DRT is the solution, because we're on the verge of a public financial collapse. Why do I make that statement? Because during COVID, the amount of interest has increased disproportionately, way disproportionately to what our economy grew in terms of percentages. So it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Check the numbers, double check the numbers, but the interest has grown, of course, because of the programs which had to be implemented during COVID. So these emergency programs put an external additional surplus pressure on the already existing major public debt. So of course the interest is the problem, not the debt itself. Because Uncle Connie, I'm going to ask Uncle Connie, what are we going to cut? What are we going to reduce? What are we going to cut and reduce in the budget? Because obviously if the increase in interest increases disproportionately to what the salary does, then the mathematical financial principle applies that we have to cut, we have to reduce. This is just financial mathematical principles. It's an inverse relationship. The more interest we pay, unless the salary keeps up, the increase in the salary keeps up, unless that's beautiful. That's what I want to paint the benches, see? In the park here, Mount Royal, like that. All colorful benches like that is what I love. So of course, we're gonna have to cut something, because an individual also, if the financial scenario arises for an individual, when the individual, of course, is interest payments increase disproportionately to what the salary increase, that means that the individual citizen will have to reduce and cut the spending and the budget. The individual will have to reduce, maybe stop smoking cigarettes, stop going out to parties, stop buying booze, buying liquor, stop Netflix, other subscription, reduce the internet consumption, cut the budget. An individual will have to apply the cutting, the reducing, austerity, in other words. Austerity measures can be also described by cutting, reduction of the budget. So in the public, we're going to have to cut some services. Already we saw that there was major thousands of jobs cut in the sector, the Immigration Canada. Immigration Canada. That's a nice lake there if you want to go. Immigration Canada. Immigration Canada, right? Thousands of jobs. So what else we're going to cut, Mr. Connie, Uncle Connie? Because that worked in banking finances, you know best more than me. I know my geopolitics. Perhaps, I'm better than you are in that geopolitical arena. And you're better than me in finance and economics. The king is absent. That's what I know. The king is absent. King is absent. It's time for the republic. It's time for the republic. It's time for the republic. The king is absent. We gotta get it for the lovers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food across the North American Collective. Across the North American Collective. That's all we gotta be doing. Across the North American Collective, we gotta get doing with that, and that's all we gotta get doing, We gotta, because an individual has to cut in the budget, the public also, we're gonna have to reduce something. The question is what? But the question and the solution, regardless of what the answer to the question is, I know what the solution is. Because whether we cut, we're gonna have to reduce the RCMP. Already the budget has reported that it's not enough. So what are we gonna cut? We're gonna cut the budget, and that's all we're gonna get doing with that. That's all we're gonna get doing on the go, and that's all we're gonna get doing on the left and on the right, and in the middle and on the left and in the right, and all those butchers and the bakers and the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, all those involved in the production, distribution of food, And we're gonna cut what? The RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the prisons, the defense, national defense. What else we're gonna cut? What are we gonna cut? The defense, hospitals, healthcare, recycling, public services. Cut somewhere. The RCMP, the garbage collecting, the sanitation, right? And what is the individual gonna cut? That's up to the individual and the proportion of the budget, which cannot be sustained, of course. The budget cannot be sustained, It's not something which can be sustained with that, So that's all we gotta get doing with that, and we're gonna get on the go, and that's all we gotta get done. I see we got 10 seconds, so I got plenty of time here. But we're gonna have to cut and reduce, just like Vion News. Well, there's One News reported that a year ago already, or the secret RCMP report said that broke and angry Canadians are planning unrest. Broken and angry Canadians are plotting unrest. It was a secret report to then the Justin government last year. It was World is One reporting it, and several Canadian outlets reported on that secret RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Here is like the federal police, and I served before it was known as the RCMP, and I was served when I met Louis Cyr a little bit in the SPVM. Served as the police of Montreal. They're not perfect, they're individuals. Some of police officers and men and women in uniforms are also financially stressed. The RCMP said there's not enough budget to cover what's with the growing crime and whatever's happening. And my brothers and sisters, I don't know about that fentanyl, but it seems that it's not even a recreational drug, it's a poison that kills. It's a poison that kills. We got legal cannabis. We got so much good legal cannabis and legal hash. We got that good stuff legal, We got that good stuff legal, Got that good stuff legal. I don't know. It's coming in. You see all these problems which is creating now. I'm not a fan of Trump. Not at all. Granddaddy Trump, I've been challenging him since he imposed tariffs on the Canadian aluminum and steel, which was a mistake. Which was clearly a mistake. But my American people, he's president now. They got to vote it in, and I love you, American people. And Granddaddy Trump, at least to Canada, you know, because the other foreign affairs is outside of the 63 until we got the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Army, both complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the North American Integrated Dance League, the Dragon Army with it, until we got those settled and those on the ground, public-private partnership based. Then I cannot really much, I gotta keep it neutral in terms of the outside influence of the North American Collective, and we gotta clean up after yourself. What's going on here? Gotta clean up after yourselves a bit. I guess somebody's gonna clean from the institution there. It's public hygiene, people. Put that in the trash or in the garbage. If some of it goes in the recycling, I don't want to touch it because I don't have gloves and a big black backpack, big black backpack, but that's what it needs to be done, you know. We need to get on the doing for that, you know. Here in the sun on the island, man. We gotta get on that Concordia, man. That's all we gotta get doing, you know, from the left, right, and center. And gonna discuss the DRT now because it's the solution. Paradoxically, I present the solution on the table. It's a paradox that I'm able to present the solution to what's happening now financially, because my main field of study is geopolitics, not finance necessarily, and economics, commerce, but in the world of geopolitics, you gotta have a level of awareness, study, education, and intellect, and of course, knowledge about economics, finance, and commerce. So you check the numbers for yourself. There's record-breaking credit cards for the individuals. Last year, this February, this March, last year, November, December was presented. There's a record-breaking debt levels. So it's not sustainable, you know. Just the debt is not sustainable, you know. It's not sustainable, you know. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. So the DRT is the solution, paradoxically. What is the DRT? I'm going to explain it now. The DRT stands for D for debt, R refusion, T theory. Inside my DRT is integrated monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory, which was implemented in the European Union back in the 1990s. Back in the 1990s, the Europeans, of course, implemented monetary integration theory by getting rid of their old currency. The Germans destroyed their national central banks. The Italians destroyed their national central banks. The French as well. They created a common currency known as the euro. And they don't have central banks anymore. National central banks, that is. They have a common central bank. They have a common central banks. They no longer have national central banks, right? Germans no longer have national central banks in Germany, France, and many countries in Europe. They have the European Central Bank, which is a supranational central bank, which incorporates many nation states together, right? So my DRT theory includes that theory. Because my DRT theory has to be implemented first and foremost, Canada, United States, binational. Because we're in a very similar public and private financial situation, and we got each other, the 63. The king is absent, time for the republic. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt. Going to take all the public and the private debt, all of it. We're going to convert it, all the public private debt of Canada, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And of course, we're going to convert all the public-private debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. All that debt, we're going to add it up. The public and the private debt, we're going to add all the public and the private debt with the US dollars. With the US dollars. All the public and the private debt, we're going to add it with the US dollars. I'm just going to cross to check a little bit of those yellow flowers there. I see them blurred. I don't see them well, so I do have to check my eyes again. But money. Don't finance. But those are gorgeous yellow flowers there in the corner. Anyways, I'm not going to get distracted more. It's just that I get a little bit of that yellow. So that is what it is. And that is those not beautiful flowers there. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt. All the public and the private debt. I'm going to get doing on that. And got to watch it for the cars, man. Slipping on that. And that's how we got to get doing on that. And going to get doing for the car, you know. So I'm watching for the cars, man. for the children, to get it on the go, and so we gotta get doing on that, and gotta get doing on this YZ, so it's something which we have to be doing, and we gotta be rock and rolling, it's something which we have to be doing on that, so and that's what we gotta get doing with that, so gotta get doing on the go, and and that's what it is with that. So the DRT theory, debt refusion theory, DRT, debt refusion theory, we're gonna get it on the go, and that's what we're gonna get doing on that SAP, and gonna get doing on the nerve side of things. So we're gonna take all the public-private debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars. All the public-private debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars, and that money, we're gonna add it with the US dollars. Gotta add it with the US dollars, So all the public and the private debt, gonna add it with the US dollars. See, look how that splits also. Isn't it nice how it splits? Almost parallel, If you take a look, like a tree almost looks like double, If you kind of split in the middle, right? Perpendicular, there's a symmetry, mathematical symmetry to that one as well. You just gotta take a look at this, You just gotta take a look, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get doing on the go with that, and that's which we have to get on the XYZ side of things, and gotta get focused on that DRT, the DRT. So we're gonna take all the public-private debt. That one as well kind of looks kind of cool. Kind of cool trees, man. Just gotta focus on them. Oh, they're split, pretty nice. So the debt refusion theory, we're gonna take all the public-private debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars. All that public-private debt, we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, convert it into US dollars. All the public and the private debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars. And that is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. So all the public-private debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, we're gonna create this new currency, and we're gonna convert our debt, my $10,000 included, yours, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We're gonna, of course, add it up. Just gonna get out of the way for the children. So we're gonna convert all the public and the private debt. So all the public-private debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars. So we're gonna get that conversion, all of it. We're gonna add it all up, all of it, convert it to US dollar. We're gonna add it with the US public and private debt. So all the debt put together, we're gonna add it all up. All the public and the private debt, we're gonna add it all up, and that money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. That money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. That money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. Right, so all the debt, public and private debt of Canada, including my $10,000, we're going to put it, add it all together, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, that public-private debt together, we're going to convert it into US dollars. All that public-private debt, we're going to convert all the public and the private debt, and of course, we're going to take it all in, and we're going to, of course, convert it to the US dollar. We're going to add it all up, and that's what we're going to get doing on that, and we're going to get it on the go, we're going to get it on the left, right, Z, and that's how we're going to convert it to. We're going to add it all up. So all the public and the private debt, it's something which we're going to get doing with that, something which we're going to get doing, and that's how we're going to get thrilled with it, and going to get deal with it, and going to get here, crossing in the streets, and here we're going to go. Actually, we're going to go the other street, because last time we took down Crawford, so now we're going to take the next one to the left. So all the debt, public and private debt, converted into US dollars. We're gonna convert convert it into US dollars. All that money, we're gonna take it all together, all the public-private debt. All that money, we're gonna convert it into US dollars. That money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. That money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. So all the public and the private debt is gonna be, of course, the new debt. All the public and the private debt is gonna be converted into US dollars, added with the US dollar. That money is going to be the initial money supply with all the money in circulation for a new central bank, and we're going to issue a new currency called the UE, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.Unit, the UE, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.Unit, the UE, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.Unit, the UE, the UE, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.Unit. The universal exchange unit is going to have the value of the US dollar. So the value of the US dollar, all that is going to have the value of the US dollar, right? It's going to have the value of the US dollar. So it's going to have the value of the US dollar, right? All that money, we're going to cap the interest at 10%. 10% interest, 10% interest rate, 10%. It could be 3.33, 6.1, 9.3, 4.18, 7.6, etc., etc., etc. 4.18, 3.33, below 10% by principal. There's not going to be able to be more than 10% interest on that. After that, we're going to create this new central bank. We're going to put into circulation the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. With that money, we're going to do lots of great things for the North American Collective, for the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. We're going to rebuild the infrastructure of the North American Collective, the aqueducts, the sewers, their highways, their bridges. We're going to build more hydroelectric dams. We're going to mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, because wellness and fitness initiatives, public-private partnership based, are great for the environment and great, of course, for the wellness. We're going to finance building of those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, or headquarters of NATO's, known as the HQ of NATO, NORAD, which is not the NATO alliance, but the Canada-United States military alliance from the 50s. So for the NORAD headquarters, the Cheyenne Mountains, so gonna build those 44 tunnels across North America, across the 63, the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories for the 63 SSD, and we're gonna get a building of those 44 in case of a thermonuclear war. And we're gonna stack them with food, and make them strong, powerful to withstand and survive the population of, not the whole population, but in case of a thermonuclear war, and in case that golden hawk dome doesn't fails in the future, and if it fails in the future, it's for the ground, just like we got the Golden Hawk Initiative. For the 63, just like we got the Golden Hawk Initiative. So we must build below the implement Operation Northern Scorpion and build the 44 parallel with the Golden Hawk. So we're gonna get it for there. We're gonna go like that towards the river right there. Of the Golden Hawk. And so for the 60, oh wow, look at that. That's a good omen. See, the hawk is not, they're not hawks, but that's the omen, man. That's Dragon Army Legions. Good omen, right? When I said that. So it's time to do the DRT, implement the DRT, build those 44 and lay the foundations for the North American complementary, the Dragon Army, the North American operational fields for the Dragon Army, the North American Integrated SSD Legions for total security, total service, total defense, and of course the Dancing Goddess Army, of course for the North American Integrated Dance League, of course to be for the environment, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get a little bit of that beautiful bushes of flowers, and the DRT is what we have to be doing. The DRT, we have to implement the debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE. Kind of love how it's set up here with small little flowers and a little bit of greenery here and there. That is kind of variety, kind of chic and cool. I love that red, So the 44. That's what we got to do for the 44 tunnels and mass finance fitness, and also parallel to financing fitness. What is good for great mental health and establishing esprit de corps is to mass finance tourism between the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories to the maximum fullest public-private partnership extent. Finance, finance, finance. Finance, 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 finance. DRT, 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 parallel with the CIT, citizen integration theory, and the DFT, democratic fusion theory for total. 911, New Dragon North American Collective for the 63 new 911 protocols for total security, total service, total defense, based on my philosophies, based on my theories, based on my protocols, and based on, of course, the several philosophies of which we have. And that's how we have to get doing with that, and gotta get doing on those kids. They playing a little bit there and in the wood. The only concern I have is the splinters in the feet and the legs for them, but other than that, have fun and go a little bit of wild. But my only concern is they're not the splinters, if you know, the splinters for the hands, the little splinters, and the hygiene. But hygiene only if there's like animals who climbed on it, then they carry it from the ground, you know, like squirrels and other things. So I would inspect, if I were to be the parent, I would inspect the tree, see maybe whatever, and then say go ahead and watch for splinters and have fun. Climb and be careful, explain gravity a bit and have fun, do some sweat, exercise, children to play, security, safety, not, so it's always a balance, eh? Security, liberty, and security and parallel with joy and liberty of the children. Children joyous and happy, laughing and dancing will be the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom's anthem. Children laughing and joyous will be the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom's anthem. Children laughing, joyous, you know, will be the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom's you know, children's laughing and joyous and happy will be the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom's joyous, you know, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom's anthem of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom will be joyous children laughing and dancing. And that's how we're gonna cross the street here prudently. We're by the river. Change a little bit of that French because we're not bad province, so grateful, thankful, electricity bill is paid, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and gotta get doing on the go. We gotta get doing for those butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, all those involved in the production, distribution of food, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get drilling, you know, for the butchers and the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, firefighters, you know, as I go into the deep sunset, and always gotta say gratitude, yeah, grateful, thankful, you know, electricity bill is paid, and gotta paid already my bills, electricity bill first and foremost, my rent for June, electricity bill, and paid a little bit of my debt, you know, a little bit on my debt, and we're gonna let that main out here. We're gonna switch, and that's how it is, because we love the province, and that's how we made a great linguistic compromise. And you gotta bet on the XYZ and put a little bit of that glasses with it, and that's how we're gonna get doing, you know. We're gonna get learning here and do a little bit of that admiration for the cities, people on the jog. Gonna get drilling and see the beauty here of the river. Get it, and people exercising, working out, always fun. Here I wish I could paint a little bit of that. It's gonna turn fast. Wow, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? That is just majestic, and you see people go there, and I can go there on the side, but here's the river, you know. Here's the river, you got the water and the fire. Here I'm gonna be marching parallel with the water and the fire, and you know, get 50-50. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. And there's all we got there. St. Lawrence, and that's the mountains, and there's all my cousins here on the fitness journey. On the fitness journey there. A little bit of fitness. Alright. This is, I don't know why is this in French. In English it's a whipping willow. Whipping willow. Whipping willow. Whipping willow. Whipping willow. It doesn't come to me now the name in French, and I'm gonna have to switch to that French because we're in La Belle Province, and that's what we gotta get doing by the sides we can go. You know, inside immersed, and we're gonna get doing on that, and gonna get it for the lovers, you know, the butchers, the bakers, the train conductors, and here we made the great linguistic compromise, you know, for the French language, which we gotta continue to do. So I let my main out, auctioning some of her hair, $1 million for the shirt, the steel toe boots, the underwear, the socks, auctioning everything that I'm wearing, you know. Backpack, $1 million each to give half to my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money. And here we are, we're gonna switch to that French. Again, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid my rent for June 3rd today, paid my electricity bill, go, Hydro-Quebec, go. And of course, paid my a little bit, $93 off the $10,000, which I have as debt. So I got $9,907 now on the credit line debt. So I guess paid a little bit. It's basically, of course, support if I ever need to access it again. That's what it is to be accessing it again. So French, que je m'appelle pour l'instant français. Rendu proche de la rivière en ce jour ensoleillé, le 3 juin, je vous encourage à faire de l'entraînement physique québécoise et québécoise. Pour faire, bien sûr, je vais descendre par ici. Oh non, je pense que ça peut-tu quand je marche par là, c'est possible. Là. Je vais rentrer dans la rivière un peu, pas dans la rivière parce que il y a du danger là, mais si je viens par ici, j'aime ça parce que c'est, bien sûr, tu sais, ça rafraîchit un peu, fait que je vais faire un peu le colon du rock'n'roll de votre aspi. Artiste, athlète, regardez la belle rivière. Québécois et québécoises, ici, bien sûr, on peut faire de la méditation profonde. Je ne vais pas m'arrêter parce que je fais un entraînement physique, bien sûr, mais marche, entraînement de rock'n'roll traditionnel. Je vais dire traditionnel parce que ça fait bien des années que je l'ai fait. Maintenant, bien sûr, depuis que j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte en 2017. Et bien sûr, en 2017, quand j'ai traversé le Canada, ça m'a fait sortir de ma dépression. Avant ça, j'étais en dépression et suicidaire. Puis, vous savez, j'ai une perte de mémoire. J'ai l'amnésie rétrograde, là, parce que j'ai de la misère à me souvenir de ma vie. Je m'en souviens bien. Quand je me retourne en arrière, 7 ans, 8 ans, 9. Après 10, ça devient comme un peu, tu sais, comme dans l'ombre un peu, c'est comme son. Puis 11 ans et plus, ça devient un blackout. C'est comme dans ça, j'ai de la misère à me souvenir de ma vie avant d'avoir déménagé. J'habitais à une Côte-des-Neiges, comme une petite cellule de prison. Je veux dire, j'ai servi mon temps. J'étais dans une place où il y avait beaucoup de moisissures. De la moisissure, bien sûr, mais des flashs de violence. J'ai été attaqué par surprise. Je suis tombé, j'ai cogné ma tête. J'étais comme tout ensanglé, là. J'étais ensanglé, puis j'avais le bras droit disloqué. J'étais allé à l'hôpital général juif de Montréal. L'hôpital à Montréal, il y a plusieurs hôpitaux, là, mais c'est sûr qu'il y a un des grands, qui était dans mon quartier auparavant. C'était l'hôpital général juif. Il faut que je revoie les archives. C'était quand exactement cet événement-là il a eu lieu? Quel mois? Ça, j'ai de la misère. Puis c'est peut-être cet événement ou d'autres événements, ou peut-être la moisissure, parce que qui cause la maladie prolongée, là, qui peut causer ces choses-là. Ou des fois, c'est l'alcool, tu sais. Des fois, c'est l'alcool qui cause l'amnésie aussi. C'est peut-être l'alcool aussi qui cause la perte de mémoire. Des fois, ça revient avec soit la hypnose, soit la thérapie, ou même un autre traume crânial, comme qu'on appelle en anglais un concussion. Mais ça peut faire que la mémoire revient. Mais c'est pas la mémoire tous les jours, au quotidien, c'est la mémoire ancienne, tu sais, comme les années auparavant, que je veux dire. Je consomme pas de drogue, je bois rarement de l'alcool, là. Je bois rarement de l'alcool, là. En tant que citoyen, je peux pas me permettre, je suis en crise financière, mais c'est sûr que dans cette manière de dire, puis de l'être, puis de répondre, c'est que j'ai ces cicatrices sur mon corps. Moi, je veux pas parler trop de mes cicatrices puis tout ça. Je veux juste finir un peu que je vis avec la condition de l'Asperger's, l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, qui fait que dans mes interactions, communication sociale, j'ai un peu de la misère. Tu sais, dans le social, la manière qu'on est, des fois, les aspis, parce que l'Asperger's, encore une fois, c'est pas une maladie mentale. Hein. Je fais partie de cette petite minuscule partie de la population minorité qu'on fait partie moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage, c'est à peu près 0,44%, 0,44%. C'est pas beaucoup, hein? 0,44, c'est pas beaucoup de gens qui vivent avec l'Asperger's. C'est une condition de neurodivergence, mais il y a encore beaucoup de travail à faire vis-à-vis, car c'est pas une maladie mentale, tu sais. Ce n'est pas une maladie mentale. Ce n'est pas une maladie mentale. C'est juste cette condition de neurodivergence, ça fait bien sûr qu'on a certaines inclinaisons, on est incliné d'une manière à faire, tu sais, une manière de faire des inclinaisons, une manière ou d'autre, bien sûr, pour faire des inclinaisons dans un domaine ou l'autre. Puis bien sûr, on a ce qu'on appelle les intérêts spéciaux qui préoccupent la plupart de notre temps, aussi connus comme les intérêts obsessifs, mais dire obsessif, ça ne rend pas justice à ce qu'on est, bien sûr, en tant qu'Aspi, en tant qu'Asperger. Je vais devoir monter. Là, on m'a forcé un peu pour aller, parce que là, il faut que je penche les genoux. Il faut que je me propulse propulsion comme une fusée. Oui, on s'arrange ça. Oh, ça a lancé bien la fusée. Encore 2-3 pas. On revient, bien sûr, pour le faire. Puis on est sorti. On est sorti de l'ombre. Mais c'est pas vraiment des ténèbres ou de l'ombre, bien sûr. C'est des choses qu'on fasse. Fait que dans le temps qu'on est rendu maintenant, c'est bien sûr un temps précaire de la géopolitique. De la géopolitique, et bien sûr, c'est un temps qu'il faut dire, dans cette manière qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, à faire un compromis avec ces auteurs de la rivière qui me font traverser. Je vais leur chanter qui mangent. De chez nous de Montréal, votre dragon artiste, c'est le rock'n'roll 24. Et vous savez que, parallèlement à la géopolitique, le rock'n'roll, le sport et l'entraînement physique, la danse est mon sport préféré, puis l'entraînement physique que je préfère, c'est la danse. Avec ces marches, je fais de la danse maintenant avec les auteurs. Vous ne me voyez pas la langue, les orteils ni les pieds, mais je suis en train de faire une petite danse avec le soleil qui va. Fait que toutes ces choses-là, qu'on appelle les intérêts spéciaux, ça préoccupe chez les Aspergers comme moi-même, qui fait partie de cette petite minorité, ça préoccupe notre temps, Toute la plupart de notre temps, bien sûr, ça préoccupe la plupart de notre temps pour le faire, bien sûr. La préoccupation de notre temps intense, super concentré, super dedans. On peut être super dedans, super intense, super focusé, super intense, super dedans, là, dans les choses qu'on fait, bien sûr, en ce moment, comme l'entraînement physique, ou que ça soit, bien sûr, ça dépend c'est quoi, bien sûr, pour le faire, de la situation de l'exercice physique, que moi-même j'ai fait, bien sûr, pour le faire, bien sûr, puis, bien sûr, comme puis, on est là, je sais plus, et c'est... yeah, man. That's about it. It's rock and roll zero, man. Mais c'est ça, tu sais, c'est la situation dans laquelle on vit. Hey, j'adore ça. Les fleurs jaunes. Les fleurs jaunes, ça sent bon. Hey, ça sent vraiment bon. J'adore ça, les fleurs jaunes. Je les adore, je les aime. Puis on dirait que ça rafraîchit ici. Hein. Ça, les abeilles les aiment aussi. Fait que s'ils s'en viennent des abeilles, ils vont avoir du miel quelque part avec la rivière qui contrôle la métropole de Montréal. Donc, c'est ça un peu l'Asperger's, pour en faire un petit résumé. C'est nous, les Aspis, notre cerveau, il y a des mutations. Fait qu'à cause de ces mutations, on peut des fois être direct ou on peut paraître comme qu'on offense, bien sûr, dans la situation d'offenser. Là. Mais bien sûr, pour dire offenser, bien sûr, pour dire, bien sûr, que j'offense, je peux être direct, ou des fois, ça peut paraître comme certaines choses sont insensibles, tu sais, sont comme insensibles, mais c'est pas ça, c'est parce que, tu sais, on a de la compassion puis de l'empathie, mais on le montre d'une autre manière. Nous, on le montre par les actions, à la place de la consolation verbale, tu sais, à la place de dire, je m'excuse ou d'autres choses, tu sais, je vais le dire, bien sûr, d'une manière. J'essaie d'écouter un peu cette rock'n'roll. Ouais. Rock'n'roll, man. d'une manière, la manière que je me prononce, c'est sûr que j'ai de la misère dans certaines choses. Dans certaines choses, j'ai de la misère, bien sûr, mais en ayant de la misère dans certaines choses, bien sûr, j'ai de la difficulté dans certaines choses, et bien sûr, c'est dans l'autre image pour en faire, bien sûr, de l'affaire, de l'histoire de l'autre bord, pour en dire que, bien sûr, c'est une histoire aussi d'efforts, et c'est une histoire aussi de beaucoup de souffrance, mais parce que les ASPI, comme moi aussi, incluant moi-même en tant qu'ASPI, le problème, c'est parce que le taux de chômage de sans-emploi est très élevé chez les autistes, hautement foncés chez les ASPI. C'est entre 60 et 80. Fait qu'entre 60 et 80, là, vous imaginez-vous que c'est 11 fois plus. 11 fois plus. 11 fois plus, bien sûr. 11 fois plus. 11 fois plus, tu sais. 11 fois plus. 11 fois plus que la population normale, tu sais. Que la population normale. Fait que ça soit 11 fois plus, bien sûr, c'est bien sûr quelque chose qu'il faut que je fasse moi-même. Parce que bien sûr que ça fasse, dans cet effort, c'est 11 fois plus. Quand la population normale, c'est bien sûr 5%. 5 à 10%, 5 à 6%. Fait que dans cet événement, bien sûr qu'on a de la concordance, c'est bien sûr quelque chose que moi-même, il faut que je le fasse. T'sais? C'est quelque chose, bien sûr, que moi, il faut que je le fasse moi-même. T'sais? Fait que dans ces choses de l'emploi, on a beaucoup de discrimination contre les ASPI. Puis bien sûr, le taux de suicide, et bien sûr, le taux de suicide, bien sûr, lequel qu'on vit, il faut qu'on aille, bien sûr, dans cette manière de le dire. Vous voyez ça? Checkez ça. Le taux de suicide, tu sais. Le taux de suicide qu'on a, bien sûr, il est très élevé. Le taux de suicide qu'on a, bien sûr, il est très élevé. Le taux de suicide, il est très élevé. Eh bien, c'est sûr que dans ces choses de convergence qu'on a nous-mêmes, de ces convergences, bien sûr, pour dire, bien sûr, le taux est élevé, tu sais. Ben, c'est sûr que le taux était très élevé. Moi-même, tu sais, quelqu'un qui a bien sûr vécu, quelqu'un qui a vécu, bien sûr, la suicide, puis être suicidaire, quelqu'un qui a vécu être suicidaire, et bien sûr la dépression, quelqu'un qui a vécu la dépression, puis être suicidaire, moi-même, tu sais, c'est des choses, bien sûr, quelqu'un qui a vécu la dépression, puis être suicidaire, c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il va falloir qu'on fasse de cette manière de me dire que j'ai sorti de ma dépression quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte. Quand j'ai traversé le côte à côte, c'est quelque chose qu'il faut que je fasse. Il faut que je fasse, bien sûr, dans ce point de concordance et dans ce point de avoir, bien sûr, avoir une certaine majeure partie de notre discours vis-à-vis ces intérêts spéciaux. Fait que c'est toujours ces intérêts spéciaux, bien sûr, qu'il faut que ça nous préoccupe. Ça nous préoccupe, tu sais. C'est des choses qu'il faut que ça nous préoccupe, tu sais. Parce que nous, notre préoccupation principale, c'est bien sûr nos intérêts spéciaux. Tu sais. C'est nos intérêts spéciaux. You know? So... You know, so basically that's what's been going on, man. Refuge d'oiseaux. Et c'est une beau refuge d'oiseaux. On va pas aller aujourd'hui, mais il est là. Vous pouvez aller voir vous-même, tu sais. Dans cette concordance, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse. C'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse. C'est ces choses-là, bien sûr. C'est des choses qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Fait que c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse dans cette concordance. Fait que c'est ça, c'est... c'est ça, la concordance. So... Non, fait que... Pas de... Et bien sûr, dans ce point qu'on est rendu, ben, je veux arrêter avec l'autisme fonctionnel, puis je veux discuter bien sûr de la compagnie, bien sûr, pour le faire dans ce point de convergence, pour le faire dans cette référence de l'Asperger. Je vais bien sûr entendre pour le faire de la gauche. Je vais juste traverser de l'autre bord. Là. Ouais, j'adore ça, la danse. Hein. Ah ouais. Ça, la danse, j'adore ça. Hein. Je peux danser pendant des heures. Hein. J'adore ça. Hein. Ah ouais. Ça, la danse, j'adore ça vraiment. Là. La danse, c'est quelque chose que j'adore. Fait que faites bien. Faites bien d'aller danser. Là. Il y a de la place pour aller danser là-bas.
Oui.
Vous devez y aller, hein. Je vais jouer un peu. Et c'est le... Il y a de la place, il y a danser, citoyen, il a fait un petit peu de danse, tu sais. Danse un peu, mais c'est les autres d'arbres. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C'est les autres d'arbres, man. Ils s'en vont rejoindre les autres tout tard. Mais les enfants, ils non plus. Fait que les autres sont 4, 5. Avec les autres, ça va faire un beau paquet. Oh ouais, les petits, ben, ils sont là. Tu sais, comme ça. 3, 4, puis là, il y a le 5e. Fait qu'il est au 11e. Le 11e, il doit être quelque part, là. Je sais pas, là, mais... Je sais pas. C'est... des outardes. Ils sont belles, mais... Ils bougent un peu. Ouais. Fait que là, je veux pas tarder. Je vais arrêter avec l'Asperger, l'autisme mouvement fonctionnel. Vous pouvez faire vous-même, tu sais, un petit peu de recherche si ça vous intéresse. C'est quoi? Encore une fois, c'est pas une maladie mentale. C'est pas une maladie mentale. Après ça, c'est pas une maladie mentale dans ce point de convergence. C'est pas une maladie mentale. C'est juste, c'est un point. Ce n'est pas une maladie mentale. Comme l'autre fois, j'avais discuté avec quelqu'un qui avait dit une maladie mentale. J'étais un peu frustré parce que c'est une condition de neurodivergence. De neurodivergence avec nous. Les aspects, on a ces points qu'on a de la misère un peu dans le social, la manière qu'on interagit. Puis j'ai vécu la dépression moi aussi, suicidaire, puis ces taux de suicide, de dépression, puis de sans-emploi est super élevé comparé à la population des neurotypiques, dont vous constituez les 99,56% de la population. Fait que bien sûr, c'est ces choses de concordance qu'il faut qu'on fasse Et bien sûr, dans ce point des analyses, de qu'on est rendu, bien sûr, maintenant, je dois dire moi-même, je vais discuter d'une solution que j'ai, c'est un paradoxe, bien sûr, que j'ai une solution, bien sûr, dans ce point de compromis, ce point de financièrement, là, parlant, qu'on est rendu, bien sûr, avec la population sur endettement externe. Et ils ont grandi depuis 2 semaines que je les ai vus. Je pense que c'est les autres qui les ont filmés l'autre jour. Vous en souvenez, si vous checkez sur mes vidéos, ils étaient tous jaunes, tout en or. Fait que là, je pense qu'ils ont grandi un peu. Ben, si c'est la même, là, parce qu'il y en a bien, là. Et on pourrait pas besoin, là, parce que j'ai de quoi dans mon sac à dos. Puis chez nous, j'ai de quoi en manger, mais... Et ça ferait faire nourrir un couple de familles, ça, ben, c'est sûr que non, là, laissez-les tranquilles, là, mais on n'est pas rendu à ce point-là de troisième guerre nucléaire, qui est possible, hein, c'est possibilité. J'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019. J'ai prévu la situation actuelle en 2019, qu'il y aura comme une conflagration internationale. J'ai la preuve en ligne, puis, wow, regardez comment il y en a plein. Des outardes, des petits... Écoutez, je ne veux pas te faire mal, pas vous faire mal. Les nouveaux puissants. Fait que là, j'ai une solution pour la situation financière. C'est la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Fait que je vais l'expliquer tout de suite. Puis bien sûr, pourquoi je dis que c'est la seule solution ou quelque chose qui ressemble, c'est dû à cause, bien sûr, que bien sûr, on est rendu à avoir un record de dette. Le niveau de dette, de surendettement chez le citoyen, l'individu, puis le collectif, le Canada, puis l'individu, c'est énorme. C'est rendu un record. On a vu le surendettement vis-à-vis des cartes de crédit. Là, puis aux États-Unis, puis au Canada, la situation financière est similaire. C'est pour ça que je fais appel pour ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qu'elle soit implémentée de côte à côte de océan, de côte à côte de océan, de côte à côte de océan. Ben oui, pour les 63, les 10 provinces, 50 États et 3 territoires. Fait que je vous l'explique maintenant tout de suite. Puis pourquoi encore je dis ça? Mais c'est parce que durant la COVID, le niveau d'intérêt, là, l'intérêt qu'on a payé sur la dette publique, ça a tellement augmenté, ça a tellement été augmenté là, que on ne peut pas soutenir ça. C'est parallèle à l'individu. Fait que ma TRD, il faut faire l'implémentation parce que c'est urgent. On peut avoir, bien sûr, un record des finances qu'on est rendu, bien sûr. Avoir un record des finances. Fait que c'est quelque chose qu'il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. On va prendre toute la dette publique, privée. Mon 10 000 $ à la Banque Royale. Ton 10 000, mon 10 000. Son 10 000 de côte à côte, de sien à sien. Puis il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de côte à côte ensemble. Il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de côte à côte ensemble. Les États-Unis. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette public-privé, mon 10 000 inclure mon 10 000, ton 10 000. On va faire une refusion, bien sûr. Fait qu'on va prendre tout ça ensemble. On va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. Mon 10 000, ton 10 000 de côte à côte, de sien à sien. On va faire cette conversion, on va faire l'addition avec la dette publique-privée des États-Unis. Avec la dette publique-privée des États-Unis. Avec la dette publique des États-Unis. Fait que bien sûr, on va faire ça avec la dette publique-privée des États-Unis. On va faire l'addition ensemble. On va faire cette conversion-là. Toute la dette publique-privée, on va la ramasser ensemble. Fait que toute cette dette publique-privée, on va la ramasser ensemble. Et bien sûr, c'est des choses qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, théorie de la refusion de la dette, TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. C'est des choses qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Et bien sûr, c'est cette théorie de la refusion de la dette, TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qu'il faut qu'on fasse dans cette situation, bien sûr, de convergence, puis d'avoir où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, bien sûr, avec la concordance, tu sais. C'est des choses qui sont de la concordance. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette public-privé, toute la dette publique-privée. On va faire cette refusion, toute la dette publique-privée. On va ramasser ensemble. Mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000. Fait que toute cette conversion-là, on va la faire ensemble. Fait que toute ma dette, ta dette, sa dette, leur dette, toute la dette ensemble, on va faire la refusion. Fait que tout cet argent-là, on va faire la refusion ensemble. Faire la refusion ensemble. Toute la dette publique-privée, on va faire la refusion ensemble, on va voir. Et bien sûr, on va faire toute la refusion ensemble. Et bien sûr, ces choses-là, on va faire toute la refusion ensemble. Toute l'addition ensemble de toute la dette publique-privée. On va faire toute cette conversion ensemble. Toute cette conversion ensemble. Mon 10 000, ton 10 000 de côte à côte, on va faire l'addition de toute la dette publique-privée du Canada. Et on va faire l'addition avec la dette publique privée des États-Unis. Cet argent-là, on va faire une conversion ensemble. On va faire une conversion ensemble. Fait que tout cet argent-là, on va faire une conversion ensemble. On va faire une conversion ensemble. Fait que tout cet argent-là, ça va fonder l'argent initial pour une nouvelle banque, l'unité d'échange universelle. U.unité, U.échange, U.universel. L'unité d'échange universelle aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. L'unité d'échange universelle aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. On va faire avec ça, on va bâtir l'infrastructure, bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, construire les 44 tunnels. On va faire le financement des citoyens pour le citoyen qui s'entraîne, l'entraînement physique. On va faire bâtir les 44 tunnels dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire inspirée par la montagne Cheyenne. On va faire bien sûr beaucoup de biens publics, rebâtir l'infrastructure, l'aqueduc. On va faire vraiment du bien commun. Tellement de bien pour le commun, bien sûr, qu'on va faire dans l'instance pour le faire, de faire du financement dans le public, qu'on fera dans ces choses pour avoir dans ce bien-être social pour les 63, les 10 provinces, 50 États et 3 territoires. Fait qu'on va faire beaucoup de bien pour les 63, pour la danse, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, et fondamentalement, principalement, cette théorie qui va nous sortir d'où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui vis-à-vis la finance publique. On est rendu à un point de concordance, un point de stress pour avoir et vis-à-vis qu'est-ce qu'on est prêt à faire, c'est qu'il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de la TRD. Ça prend un partenariat public-privé et ça prend bien sûr ce PPP pour faire enlever la frontière aussi, faire un passeport commun, un grand recensement. Il faut qu'on fasse le grand recensement collectif pour voir qui peut servira dans les deux institutions de partenariat public-privé, encore une fois. L'armée du Dragon, les légions de l'Amérique du Nord pour la sécurité, service, défense, intégrée avec tous les organismes qui existe bien sûr en ce moment, et l'armée de la déesse qui danse, qui sera bien sûr la Ligue de danse intégrée de l'Amérique du Nord pour l'éducation environnementale et l'action aussi, parce que ça prend de l'action individuelle bien sûr, ça prend de l'action individuelle pour le faire, ça prend du collectif, ça prend l'individu, comme des fois je regarde dans les poubelles, tu sais, puis vous voyez qu'il y a des canettes, il y a du plastique bien sûr, qui va dedans, qui ne devrait pas être dedans, je veux dire, qui devrait être dans le bac à recyclage. Puis les citoyens, ça prend l'action individuelle aussi, hein, parce que si on ne le fait pas en tant qu'individu, mais c'est l'individu puis le collectif. Toujours un compromis, un concordat ensemble. Puis là, ici, vous pouvez venir faire du surfing. Fait qu'encore une fois, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, on va devoir faire, bien sûr, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. On va prendre toute la dette publique-privée. Ensemble, cet argent-là, ça aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Du dollar des États-Unis. Avec cet argent-là, on va faire du bien commun. On va faire le financement de cette nouvelle monnaie, une nouvelle monnaie, le U.unité, U.échange, U.universel, U.unité, U.échange universel, U.unité, U.échange, U.universel. L'unité d'échange universelle aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Fait qu'avec ça, on va rebâtir l'infrastructure, bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, financer les gens au tourisme, construire le 44 tunnels dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire, financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, rebâtir l'infrastructure. Et c'est le temps que je rentre. Oh, il fait plus chaud ici que dehors. Je vais devoir la bloquer. C'est quand même cool comment c'est fait, électronique, on verrouille. Puis ça, je me lave les mains, fait que on se voit tantôt pour les cadences. Yeah, I did wash my hands. We're gonna put the backpack and still got a few hours to go from here to my place back because we're by the river. I just love this orangey nice time. It kind of feels like a little bit on that futuristic, with a futuristic type of, you know, public washroom, but maybe a little bit of that spacecraft. And here we go, rock and roll, last behind this cadence, and press that. Kind of hydrate, see? Flushes when you, automatically flushes when you exit it, you know? So I gotta get that hydration here and gonna wait a little for the pipes to clear, and then we're gonna get a little bit of that cadence, finish off with the cadence, dragonomic cadence. Let's go. Rock and roll on the go. It got dark already. It got really dark, smoggy, foggy. Feel like smoke all the way from Manitoba. The Western Prairies love special cadence for the hamlets and Manitoba, you know. So let's go. Ready for the cadence. You can go do some surfing here if you're so inclined, and got a little bit of that surfing there and there, you know. Come do some surfing here. You gotta be prudent. I never did it in this life, you know. But you can do surfing here if you're so inclined to do. Might get a little bit of that X and that Y and that little bit of slope, waves, you know. So, cadence, dragonomic cadence. Let's go rock and roll. For the 63 creative freestyle mode. Gotta cross the streets, man. Freestyle mode. Dragonomic cadence. Wow, again. Freestyle mode cadence. Let's go. Sun is rising, sun is setting. Finishing strong. For the dragon army, pledge your allegiance. For the dragon army, by the river that you see. For the left and for the right, you know that we marching right. For Montreal to San Francisco, you know dragon army, here we go. East and west and north and south, got a clapping roundabout. For the farmers, electricians, the welders and the plumbers, hey, and those truckers on the road. For the 63 we go. Hey, those who change some dirty diapers in the daycares, marching for those who change some dirty diapers in the daycares. Hey, truckers and the nurses, doctors, we by the river. Yesterday we're at the top of the mountain. Today we're at the river, by the river. Yesterday we're at the top of the mountain. Yesterday we're at the top of the mountain. Today we're by the river. And that's what we gotta get doing. For the truckers, for the buses, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the plumbers, electricians, welders and the firefighters. Gotta get it so you know, under squeezing on the door. Dragon army, we're not demons, we are dragons. We are not demons, we are dragons. We are not demons, we are dragons. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Once I'm gonna come there and just stay there in the water, splash of water. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. You know we gotta be with double S's. For the prudence that you be. On the left and on the B. For the left and for the right. For the side and for the beat. And the left and in the side. You know we are dancing right. Here's a nice spot too. Let's go pledge your allegiance, legions. For the left and for the right. For the dragon army sights. And the dragonesses. Gotta give me some lessons. Hey, we don't turn the other cheek. Let our enemies be pestilence, please. Hey, we don't turn the other cheek. Let our enemies be pestilence, please. No, we don't turn the other cheek. Let our enemies be pestilence, please. Dragon army, hey, we hiss like a snake, and that's a kiss.